It all started in the mysterious and unique world of Is the Earth Beyond People, where one wave of the blade can be cut mountains and turn the rivers back. Two heroes cut the rock collided in almost a fatal battle, but to great relief. In this world everyone fights with each other day, and in the evening they will joyfully drink at the same table. The action switches to the evening roofs of houses, where the main character runs away, jumping over them. Misunderstanding, failure, how to allow what is allowed only among representatives of the noble clans of Chonfa. The most famous, the main character was mentioned by a certain Muri, who was heartless in relation to the insignificance, who was born in one of the clans of the soft killers and has nothing but his miserable body. Our hero is gradually overtaken. Our hero misses the Hell Peninsula, where at one time he could not get an explanatory education and suffered from debts. Koreans call the Hell Peninsula because of the high level of working still. He was paradise. An unexpected piercing blow by a blade could deprive the hero of life if he had not had time to dodge. Thus, I spent 7 years in Mori, said the hero. Numerous attacks by katana that miraculously did not hit the main character. One notcher movement could kill the hero. This worried him the most and made it possible to think about it. The main character was covered by the memories of the words of his teacher, about the sword that he inherited, about his words, teachings. Do you want to earn a living with weapons for a long time? Teacher lay down on the bed and finished his phrase, do not bite and enter into the battle. Only if you are sure of his victory and continued, in this case your sword will always be able to feed you. The student dared to ask the name of his mentor, but the teacher himself did not consider himself like that. Ignoring his question, the picture changes in appearance from the bushes next to two huts. In the bushes there is a certain warm potion. Pupils were violently discussed how to achieve success in battles. They whispered that potion is the most important secret of martial art and victories. An angry hero attacks the students and explains the story because of what he was chasing. Return. Back to evening roofs. The battle began to develop between the main character and his opponent. Kunai flew into the opponent, but he managed to recapture him at the same second. The student was furious, awkwardly crooking, expected from the same as you. The main character turned his back and, after a moment, only 3 sounds were heard. These were kunai who found themselves in the body of the opponent. The hero revealed his new technique, which is able to hide energy in the dark. Gustav was a paralyzing poison. The opponent would not die, the main character said, with disgust and a little mockery. The protagonist reacted to this, wanting to listen to all the unacceptable nonsense for him. He disappeared. But the opponent did not like this, shouting off the insults furiously. He wished fair punishments from heaven. In doubt in the words of the opponent, with disappointment, the main character remember unsuccessful attempts to turn to heaven. The scene pauses to the memories of the hero's hit in an unfamiliar Muri. He appealed for a long time to the gods, but everything was without use. He appeared here in the beggar's body and was able to hold out for so long only thanks to training. And that he was chasing is a place where everything is decided by force, such as Mori. Our hero suffered endless hardships to survive and become stronger, exhausting himself with training, enduring humiliation and curing his wounds. He ended up on the first-class path. That the sweetness of success quickly hero stopped a huge locked door. The long-awaited door was hundreds of times higher than the hero for a real war. The next stage of power as a desired hero took out and reached out what he stole from the hut. Miracle Nakodka. Pill drugs adding forces in battle. Sow doubts in the head of the protagonist. Excitement, the desire to test them in practice. A miracle of fine. Pills of drug adding forces in battle. Sow doubts about the protagonist's head. Excitement, the desire to test them in practice. Having decided on this, he still felt the very taste of power, a surge of strength and energy after the miracle of drug. The bold pursuer was a few meters behind. Became clear to everyone that the protagonist stole the potions and secrets of martial arts, distracting attention with female laundry. The hero did not feel the energy of the pursuer at all until he was right behind him. It really alerted him. The hero considered that the bald stranger rises above him due to the fact that he did not make a sudden attack. The ideal then began the battle again. The pursuer angrily asked the name of the customer of the protagonist, to which he replied that he stole pills for himself to master the strength. It was said that the potions belong to the future wars of the great clan. Hero understands that he is at a dead end, since the clan army is definitely too tough for him. The hero attacks his opponent, shouting that he will not die so easily. The stranger is confident in his own way, claiming that everyone who dares to steal the drug and the secrets of the clan will be sentenced to death. And imperceptibly, the stranger cuts his head to the main character, who did not even have time to understand what stranger was a master standing at the top of power. The head of the protagonist is rapidly falling to the ground. He realizes everything that has happened now. More and more thoughts appear in the moment. In the last points, he completing his thought, reluctantly accepting and realizing that his story grows up on this. The hero is reborn in the body of the screamed. Not having time to understand what happened and why he survived, his classmates are also surprised by his piercing cry. In a misunderstanding how he found himself behind the back desk, among the students, the main character is trying to understand and with his eyes to inspect the place where fate brought him. The professor, in misunderstandings and in interest in an unexpected student, a little angrily, called him to ask why he is tearing the lesson. Hey, guy. Went crazy. The guy recognized the voice of the professor about tunes from the Faculty of Engineering and Material Science. The teacher still continued to find out what is the reason for the screams, and whether he is a claim to his occupation. In parallel, he heard the voice of the teacher. The protagonist tried to gather his thoughts in his head. What happened now? A place familiar to him and people. Is this the Earth? I was reborn. Maybe it's just a dream. Maybe the main character was lost in thoughts because the dream was so realistic. Other students did not like the behavior of the protagonist, which is not appropriate for the student. Seriously confident to find out, the main character went to the tears in his eyes and a strange grin. The guy asked the teacher to fulfill his strange request, to hit him with a pointer. The professor about Chun's is a little scared by the guy's emotions, not understanding that with him. He said to choose one thing, or cry or laugh, changing the emotions of fear of shock. The teacher thought and said that this is another returning. The main character was surprised and scared by the professor's words, because he realized that all adventures were not a dream. The main character is at home, watching something on his phone with great interest. He looked through an article about the returning. It wrote that when two dimensions are connected, a crack between the worlds is formed, and the people who fell to the ground through this break are called reborn. The hero begins to understand that he was in Murin because of the crack between the worlds. Continuing to calmly read the article, Cole described that the reborn has unique abilities, a high amount of mana or the ability to connect substances, and in the case of an awakening there is a high probability of obtaining a unique class. The hero is joyfully surprised by the read, because you expect such words to see only in some kind of video game. Trivia for the above reasons directed special attention to some clans and course. If the class has fallen reading this article, the hero laid the phone. The main character decided to watch television news to understand what they say there. The news said that today, about 3 hours at an auction in one of the hotels of Geneva, Switzerland, a crystal elixir was sold at the highest price in history, at the highest in history. The hero was surprised at this elixir of fantasy faces. Giving Eternal News added that the head of this drug Pangea was the head of Ilsen Group Lee Kanjo. It seemed to the hero that in Murin this guy would die if not today, then in the real world. He will live a long life thanks to this elixir. From the TV, a proposal was made to throw your school, especially in the formalizer. A special academy of knights and magicians has been created for was said by a certain ideal Lee Yubin. The hero still did not realize that in the 21st century knights and magicians appeared on Earth. From the TV, it was heard that thanks to the new technology, future heroes would be able to reveal their us right now came from advertising. Earrings were also advertised by which you can understand any language. Pills of grace. They allow you to instantly improve their figure beyond recognition. The hero was not interested in watching advertising, so he decided to turn off the TV. The hero went back to his bed in order to try to accept and collect all the new facts in a common pile. Hearing the sonorous voice of the goddess Pangea above the globe, the inhabitants were excited and this Pangea offered them a mutually beneficial exchange and existence. The goddess Pangae for the victory over the monsters from her native measurement. The goddess will allow the Ignic mining and military trophies to pick up the prey, and judging because they showed a lot of people on of especially strong monsters in the body had stones of mana that accumulate energy. These stones with the goddess transformed by the mana converter made a real energy revolution on Earth, and the materials that can be obtained after the battle with the monster are amazing artifacts scattered throughout Tanj. Healing potions, healing all the wounds in a moment, a magical weapon of all types, elixirs that can put on the feet of anyone else who still breathes, and so on. All of the above meant the beginning of the era of great heroes. In mixed feelings, the protagonist realized that he was glad to his return, but also misunderstood why everything had changed so much. The hero tried to take advantage of the acquired abilities in Muri, taking a pose and concentrating. Nothing was expected. The hero so wanted to break out of Marima that having returned and losing military skills, he felt a huge feeling of emptiness. His sadness was interrupted by a phone call and postponing thoughts about what was happening. He took the phone. Taking the phone in his hands, the hero saw that his old friend Pak Sunshin was calling, which caused the smile of the protagonist. The conversation of the old friends after 4 years of the hero's loss smiled that Sunshkin was certainly happy to return his friend Kim Il-yeon, and was in a hurry to tell all the news. Realizing that time was flowing differently on Earth, a friend immediately explained that this is a frequent practice. It happened to a person in another world for 10 years and returned only a year later. Sunshkin had already reached the lead about the cry of Kim in the lesson and about the request to hit himself with a pointer. The news of the returning people fly quickly because if one of them wakes up, he will receive a unique is probably a commotion in the university chat. Sunshkin immediately decided to ask when Kim was going to take a test for awakening, about which our hero did not hear at all. A friend spoke out loudly that Kimu definitely needs to take a test and become a hero is like a lottery ticket capable of turning his whole life. Kim finds out that his friend has already become pleased him that the heroes have great earnings. The next day, Kim went to the Union of Heroes. It was a huge multi-story building. The weather was beautiful on the day for great results. There was a bunch of fans at the building who shouted wishes and good luck. Kim was pleasantly surprised by what was happening. Fans admired around their heroes, shouting the words of support and good luck. Knocking in drums raised posters with photographs and wishes for them. Escorts are some with caution and experiences. He is confident in himself and his abilities, because the lecturer from the Academy of Knights and Mages said that he first sees such a hard-faced guy. Mom escorted her daughter named Gio, who wanted to become a magician like her father and asked to be more modest from the god of magic. Pride because of his high status. But the fans forgot to support our hero. The sad Kim had to wish for good luck. Suddenly, someone from the crowd shouted that he had noticed that the protagonist, reporters and photographers began to poke a finger towards King Man be surprised at the appearance of the could not be confused and will move away from his place. Photographers began to flee to same one, in turn, was only able to joke, saying that he did not come up with a signature for autographs. A crowd of fans noticed their idol in dolly crowds, shouting Kim Il-yeon to move away and let them go. Kim, in misunderstanding, thought that fans were running to him, but he heard only requests to move away and leave the middle of the row, giving place to fans. The crowd ran to the red-haired, bewildered girl Hun Dryon, shouting questions and requests to tell about their brother returning home. Kim managed to understand that he was not at all interesting to the crowd, from which he became ashamed and insulting. People were very interested in questions about the brother of Madame Han Drenyan. The bewildered girl did not know what the answer to the whole crowd to their questions. Kima wondered what kind of hero's family. Two guys noticed that it was said about the return of two, but only one the conversation of the guys. Kim realized that we were talking about him. Kim went to the examination center, where being in a heavy atmosphere, as same as they were sitting and expected the dough. An emergency starts have been announced with a request to everyone to gather in the test is carried out using a spiritual stone and checks the possibility of awakening. Everyone briskly ran into the queue except Kim, who has nothing to do with such a test has begun. 3 came forward. The same spiritual stone was shown in front of them and asked to drop it with their blood. The head man was the first to come up, who was recently mentioned with a confident look, having dropped his blood to the stone. Suddenly the big man grabbed his ears and, not hiding his joy, shouted what God himself said to him. It meant that he was a test. The class of warrior avant-garde, the god of power with the nickname hard-faced, with great force, but small intelligence, the characteristic of Kim Pyeokchul, which surprised Kim. A joyful event for Kana, get into a high-rank class, into which he promised to go to his mother and goodbye and become a hero. The members of the jury wrote something into their notebooks and were happy for the hero of the highest rank, although not a very smart, but talented newcomers. The judges counted warriors, armed people, Star Military Association. Ilsen 5 main clans here is not counting those that are smaller. Kim Sanji got the lowest class of the porter. He was very upset, because it is better to return to ordinary life and abandon the activity inside Pangaea than to know that the hero never become. The next hero was Lee Jia. She got a class of magicians, thereby realized her dream to become a magician like her are the middle class, but their mana is very highly evaluated. Kim learned in advance the features of Pangaea in advance. He learned that Manu is impossible to pump with training, unlike physical abilities. The turn came and Madame Han Dryon. The guy asked her to drop a drop of blood onto a sacred spiritual caution. The red-haired girl made instructions. Tangia's divine and beautiful world, the highest old palace with an outstanding column, will flash against the background of a fantastic sky. The foot of the palace had a fight between those who did not share among themselves. A low-class gods suddenly from nowhere appear in a black mantle with the scythe god fire, frightening all other gods, and took on Conan. Conan received a class of witches with beautiful mana and intelligence. In the hall no one had even heard about such a class before. The judges were shocked and excitedly wrote something into their notebooks, with the desire to recruit it. Kim was immediately understanding her that he was already disgraced on the street, and there will now be the same. All the judges did not understand how they could miss Kim when he was right under their nose. Kim called to pass the long-awaited test. Dropping his blood onto the spiritual second chapter ends on this. Kim faced the gods who discussed his merits and the fact that he returned from a little-known dimension. A fight between the gods began for Kim, which was watched by a little girl with turquoise hair. Drinking wine, passing by the guys, Hildegard became interested in words about battles and adventures. Passing by the guys, Hildegard heard a conversation between the gods and became interested in the words about battles and adventures. In the crowd, she saw Kim, the perfect ward for her, and decided to run up, but in the way she was stopped by the gods of low class, who were negatively configured. In response to aggressive questions from the angry gods, Hildegard introduced herself as the mother of all the heroes, the goddess of the highest rank. However, the gods did not like the self-confidence and perseverance of a little thinking for a long time. They decided to join the battle with Hildegard. Hildegard is not upset, confident in himself and in her victories in battles. With a grin on her face, she would have taken a fight and enjoyed the taste of the battle that she was so longing. In bewilderment, trying to recover, Kim tried to understand what happened and why his head was so front of him. He was able to make out only a little Hildegard. The goddess told Kim that he is in a place created by the mother Bogodal, which exists only today. Hildegard introduced herself to the future hero and wanted to know his dream. Kim was confused by this question, but remembering that the patron gods could not be deceived, admitted that he only dreamed of highly high. Kim proudly shouted that he wanted to buy a building on a military salary and rent it out in order to regularly receive income in this, and his high is made from life. The one whom the goddess of the heroes wants to spend life in this way, disappointedly thought. Hildegard thought, but he returned from the world of fighting and adventures, she thought. Kim was in a hurry to upset her, saying that there were really a lot of fights, but there wasn't much adventure, and he was not an invader, but a tramp at night. He was generally rattled. Hildegard was very interested in the new word rat from Kim and began to ask with curiosity. Kim told Hildegard that he penetrated into other people's houses and stole important things for them, which she angrily replied that this is called theft. The girl was angry with the fact that he was so openly and with a smile tells what terrible acts he did. Proud of them, since they have already met the contract. If it so happened, I'll make a hero out of you, even if you have to start with your upbringing. Nervously, Hildegard said, outraged that they will be educated, and that he will not be highly grinned by the yes. You can say just a fool. The same thing was not so angrily shouted Kim, even more angry the goddess. Kim was outraged and against Hildegard, became his mentor, because instead of a little girl, he wanted a laughing gear or god of martial arts. Hildegard very angry the guy's reaction, and his words rejection of the did not endure humiliation towards the goddess of the highest rank and told him to fail, hitting her student. People were shocked by the fact that Kim returning fell as if someone hit. Cruel are the gods, the future hero thought. The awakening of Kim ended. He got to his feet to find out what class he had. Kim saw that his class is a mercenary vagabond, and the nickname is an impudent earthly dumbass. Those who were on the test were surprised by the second unique class, but the characteristic showed that Kim had 0 mana. Is it possible to use skills without mana? Others asked, "This a pearl necklace on the neck of a pig. What is the use of such a unique class?" People said. Hundwon overheard that was covered by thoughts of experience and sadness for Kim Il-yeon and his successes. The girl was covered by thoughts, lowering her head. She was a little shameful behind Kim, because he received the class of mana from his zero. The devastation of the future hero left the audience hoping that this was just a mistake. Kim headed out into the street. Kim decided to check the characteristics window in the hope of at least there was no miracle. On main there was also 0. But suddenly, a hero noticed that his inner energy is 10 points. The hero, although weak, felt this energy, thinking that maybe he had appeared now. Kim, in the hope of Manhwa, opened a window of characteristics. Opening the characteristics, Kim saw many powerful combat techniques. Of the highest were all the techniques for which Kim grew up eagerly around the world. Kim could not believe his luck. He all thought that now he would not have to sit on his knees to be top martial arts. After all, he knew the power of his war technicians best. He was covered with a wave of joy that all his efforts, knowledge and 7 years of experience were not in vain. "Now I can earn a living with a weapon again," Kim said eagerly for joy. In the waiting room, Kim decided to pap it and improve the speed of training of the spiritual technique of 3 talents. And while the main character increased internal energy, people around were perplexed, and the lab different versions of his was not satisfied with the technique, because or needed a higher. But still, Kim needs a higher spiritual technique of internal. You should start raising the level. Kim the desire to get all the combat equipment, the hero began his new path. The professors asked the girls with successes on a difficult test, and as support, the Tekhen clan prepared drinks for them. Kim felt the envy of Han Drano, because the 5 best clans want to recruit her. And the future heroine of the S rank, which is also called the Princess Ulsan group of the skin, is climbing to lure Kwan. Kim envied the combat chips, which only the owners of unique classes have. Kim continued to inspect the room at the entrance and thought, "My fishets and I have something like that." Even the smallest clans did not come to Kim. No one paid attention to him from his appearance. This was already a habit. The rest time has come to an end. All future heroes went to the competition, because only the past harsh training will be able to get into Pangea. This competition will also allow the clan's representatives will be convinced of the abilities of future heroes. Whether Doyen, invited by the Union of Heroes, appeared on the stage to control this competition. Everyone was surprised by the appearance of a representative of the Union. Lee crowd was violently discussing the moment of the appearance of the hero and the rank. Kima was very hooked by the words of Lee Donnet that no one could get into the training room except they're awakened. The hero said before the start of training to put on everyone a bracelet that they received earlier, as evidence that all those present are heroes. Bracelet, with the help of which you can translate the language of Panji and exchange information with colleagues. Having warned in advance, heroes without a bracelet can be either an outsider or the arch killer of another country, and he warned that in deserted places, it was better to beware of such people so as not to be abused. The outsiders kill for the sake of profit and glory, and the arch killers get rid of foreign heroes for the good of the country, informing the gods that spiritual stones are placed in the bracelet, with the help of which you can contact the patrons. The heroes immediately decided to talk with their patron gods to understand how it works. Kim is trying to get through to Hildegren, but after a while only silence. The hero causes experiences and excitement because he thinks that she was offended. Lee announced the beginning of the training condition, saying to approach the instructors and take a suitable weapon. The instructor explained that the weapon should be chosen wisely because it will be a faithful ally, and after choosing, approach them. Kim tried to choose a convenient and stable sword for himself, but the suitable did not come across. In disappointments, I decided to reconsider everything. The choice of Kim stopped in a sword, in which the weight was distributed evenly and comfortably, and his also took several daggers. The instructors recorded the numbers of weapons, which took Kim advised not to lose their weapons, because now it is a single hole, like a chewing gum, not to take off. The hero announced the first task, run, and all eagerly rushed for success. The hero shouted the words of motivation and hopes that no one would collapse to earth from weakness, because such end rights have no heroes. Lee Jia began to reduce the pace and complained that the run is not her. Other future heroes joined her. Lee Doyen motivated the tired heroes, mentioning that the great S-rank heroes took place. This drop of sweat will become a contribution to your future. Hearing about the heroes of S-rank, Everyone opened a second wind and future heroes, busting of themselves, rushed further behind the victory. Why it's so hard to live in High Kim, but the hero could not lose his way from the tramp to the master of martial arts. The future hero Kim saw in the window of the characteristics that he had and desire. At this moment, the chapter ends. Kim in the characteristics window saw a new task of the minimum complexity, that it was necessary to increase endurance, push-ups, squats. For this his strength will increase by 1. Kim did not see the point in these stupid tasks. But there will be nowhere to go to do what Hildegren asked. Kim decided to contact Mrs. Hildegren and find out the meaning of such a task. The goddess never noticed that she was as stubborn as he was. The next day, Kim began with a run. After that race, the future hero decided not to give up and continue independent training, and even having completed his first task did not allow himself an minutes of rest. I would like to saw Ban pray for mercy. The feeling that the body of Kim had lost all kinds of feelings. I will die now, positively said Kim, but he did not give up. Having completed the run, Kim recalled that in Morim the system of transmission of military equipment was quite closed for a narrow circle of people. But here martial arts or equipment are available to. If you think about this, is a great chance to prove that he is not a weak. There are no training, there is no talk of rest, and cannot the run. Kim immediately began push-ups, because there is more sweat, more power. Passers-by did not understand Kim's training, because it is impossible to use abilities without pumping the body. He so comforts himself. People said. The hero did not stop the words of passers-by. He continued to push up and thereby go to his goal. So far, you can't fight monsters in training, so all future heroes are stuck at the first level. And Kim continues to move forward. After completing the assignment, the hero saw that his level increased to the 4th. The joyful hero thanked Hildegren and admitted that she was really a cool goddess. Kim decided to contact his patron goddess to find out if she is still in response. The expected silence. In the dining room, future heroes criticized his food, not understanding what the taxes of civilians are spent on. Kim, tired after training, did not understand how they could complain about food. He does not fall from hunger. Now it doesn't matter what his food will be, if only it was. Since it was too late to join the company, Kim decided to remain a loner. Wishing himself a pleasant appetite, he continued to eat. Suddenly Kim was written by his friend in order to find out what was there with the test, interrupting him from eating. The future hero replied that he forgot to write as he was busy with training. A friend had already imagined himself a mentor, although he just shared the necessary information. Kim managed to boast he had a unique class. His friend instantly began to joke that he did not have enough money to eat, and only the great hero would save him. Kim also spoke about the absence of mana, which was difficult to believe his friend. The red-haired girl Supernova Kun Kwon interrupted the correspondence with a friend, forcing Kim to embarrass and think that she needs to be from him. Having placed the priorities, Kim said goodbye to his friend in order to talk to the protagonist. Such a chance is won by a million, and you can't lose it in any way. Kim was interested in Han Dvuyan, an attractive girl who broke many male hearts on his opinion. Embarrassed the guy. The girl was interested in Kim's well-being after a hard workout, and she decided to speak with him. But Kim did not understand why she was addressing him like hero. Was sure that he was not familiar with Kim Brayan, already having time to inflate that she was following him. Kim Kwon explained that they are studying at one faculty of materials sciences, which now study the materials created from specified this she was the first returned or not. Kim Swan was embarrassed from the fact that Kim remembers her. Since Kim through the university 7 years ago, his most vivid memories are from Marima. Nevertheless, Kim did not remember Han Heen. The hero was interested in how she found out about girl explained that everyone was discussing about his return. It is amazing that two heroes were at once at one faculty. With a little mockery, Han Dvuyan said that Kimo was often called the 8th grader with the syndrome, not forgetting about the dance that he performed for dedication. Kim was covered by the upbringing of 7 years ago, trying to remember what was then. Han is surprised that he was in another dimension for so long. Han Heen realized that Kim did not remember her, as he spent 7 years in Mori, and she returned only a year. Asked why she was not going to get useful ties like everyone else. The girl allowed to call herself just bummed, and she is more interested in communicating with Son. Suddenly, another new one arrogantly approached them, who hoped that Kwon knew him. To his chagrin, he was not interesting to her. The new one tried to remind the bump that they saw at the meeting of clans with her brother. He was sitting at the next table. The girl was spitting on the new one. The student asked whether Kim and Hun were talking about so naturally, to which Hun replied that they were from one faculty. The student called others with a smile, when he thought that they would not interfere with them with his conversations. His friends quickly came to the table of Kim and began to introduce themselves to the bum. The girl was awkwardly with them, since they were not at all interesting. A message was made for future heroes. The lunch break is over. The whole hero gather in the 11th hall, for the next quickly ran away from a conversation with eccentrics. Kim also went to the next task, without any reason, having had time to chat with his main goal is training to become stronger. Lee Downst explained the new task for the students, sending them to the training hall, which imitated the dungeon. Inside, future heroes had to cope with slugs and goblins. Although the goblin damage is not large, the level of protection is quite high due to the magic of strength on the skin. Kim Woo already liked this test, as he had long wanted to experience his combat skills. Lee Dunji said that future heroes need to share the teams, explaining the surprised students that the heroes who are in Panja are often combined into groups or remain with their clan, also adding that this is a test for the time, the results of which will see representatives of the clans. Kim, having realized that he was only familiar with bumps, decided to offer her a slightly dissatisfied face. She agreed, offering him to assemble the team. Thanks to the bumps to assemble the team, it turned out to be easy. Those guys from the dining room immediately escaped. The heroes distributed positions. In the center there was a bummed and red-haired guy, Kim In. His friends took the position of closing, and Kim Son with Kim Bai-hol joined them. The guys were disgusted with the hero without mana. In the dungeon, one of the guys felt that a huge number of goblins were heading for them. The crowd of goblins surrounded the heroes, and they took this understood that his team had no experience in battles, so he would have to do most. It looks like Woes also had no experience, and close bewilderment was felt. The guys were angry with the union of heroes because of the overly large number of goblins. Excitement prevents the heroes from prove themselves and gradually push them away. Kim was delighted with the assignment of the hero, because he wanted and was waiting for the moment when he could prove himself in battle. Kima covered the excitement of the battle. The harsh hand-to-hand combat is as felt the energy slowly spreading through the body with the blood. Goblin was swept by fear, because they saw Kim's mockery. At the moment he concentrated on strength, feeling a quick reaction of muscles, since there is no time to activate skills. You will have to two-hand combat is always conducted instinctively, remembering the beginning of the technique of the sword. Kim chopped off his hand to the goblin, thereby laying the beginning of their victory. Brand is insanely surprised by the capabilities of the loser without mana. Kim was seriously configured. The chapter ends on this, cutting the goblins into pieces. Kim felt the very feeling on the tips of the fingers that he felt in Marima Raya of enemies. Of course, the whole team was in a stupor, since they could not defeat one goblin, and then he alone without mana killed all even reinforced goblins. The angry Kim warned that they could escape if they want, but only on condition that their heads would leave him. Hun Brian, with a drop of fear, recalled the words of the older brother and tried to move forward. But as soon as she saw goblins, she was covered by fear and disorder in her head. Kim In was shocked by Kim's, the first level, and without magic, he managed to cut the goblin into 3 equal of all. Was surprised by his calmness. Kim Ming was no less surprised by Kim's abilities and perseverance, and Li Jingho considered this injustice. I did not see bumps and drops of dexterity or window dressing in his movements. He is like a car. With several precise blows he deprives his enemies of life. What did he have to go through these 7 years of absence? I thought Swan. He compared the technique of Kim with the technique of her brother, who is a master of the sword. Son has a worse technique, but if we accept the fact that he only a few days ago became a future hero, Brash took the Son team only because he was a friend of her friend Sunshin and did not expect any help from him. The god Jnian contacted the bombed, explaining that Hildegren could only seem completely innocent in appearance, but in reality it is very prudent and is well versed in people. Perhaps this guy has some more hidden talents. The girl wondered how cool his patron goddess is, because he is a warrior with excellent potential. Such a weight-in of the clans can get him. Brother of Swan always complained that among the members of the clans, there are only girl immediately thought about how to lure the promising dream to her clan. God Jnitz decided to joke, saying to lure the son with the attractiveness of his body. Unexpectedly for him, a joke was embarrassed by the girl. Ion Hall of the office. Members of the clan found out from Lee Dong whether it was worth expecting new records. He replied that this time they set the maximum difficulty of this test, so it is unlikely. Now in Pangae, more than ever, the Cold War, outsiders have become many times more. So, starting from this generation, it is worth holding future heroes in hedgehogs. Real heroes must have persistence to overcome any difficulties, said Weather. Clan members believed that the Kankwon group would cope the faster than anyone. The older brother taught his sister a lot. Besides, you can't deceive blood. But is the inheritance talent transmitted? Clan members asked this question. There is evidence. In example, children in a family of magicians have innate magical judgments, encourage many to create families with heroes. Inheritance of talents. How strange our world has, members thought. The wounded team members left the dungeon, where they were immediately met by the happy clan's members, who thought that they were all the merits of Hun Quan. The clan member said to record the results of the Battle of the Heroes, in order to then send a report to the main office. The members of the clan violently discussed the abilities of the heroes who have met. Less than 10 of the members invited the director to hire the girl at all costs. The director agreed and decided that she would contact the financial department and ask the budget, because she needed that girl in the clan. The appearance of Kim did not like the clans. In the appearance they thought that it was just some ragged. During training, Kim made strange sounds that enraged Brian. Noticed this, so she told Kim everything as it is, why people are shunning him. Kim developed more, and during the test in the dungeon his level increased sharply as soon as he began to kill the goblins. The hero did not stop testing and checking his abilities, concluding that the best test is a real battle. He wanted to check his basic, that he has significant progress. This did not leave him without emotions. Kim realized that at such a pace, he would quickly achieve his past result, but he was more interested in going further and achieve a huge power that he could only dream of. For the future hero, Imorin, the increase in the level became like a drug. Ironically, that he was able to get what he wanted only when he returned to the ground. How great! I returned and decided to become a hero, Sun thought. Hun Kwon came up to Kim Som with the desire to find out what training he was in. Paying attention to his corns and his, when she replied that they began to return to their former state. Sun noted that the bums were constantly with him since they returned from other future heroes simply dismisses. Hun Kwon asked to pay a little attention to her after his training. She had to seriously talk to. He decided to refuse, although he wanted. But still, now the main thing for him is training. The saddled Han of the Swan left, but said that if the Sun will find time, then she will wait for to say that this girl did not hook him, but he cannot miss the chance presented to him. Sun decided to deal with throwing daggers, fist techniques and all. Only fools from the noble families of Yeon concentrate on only one technique. Kim praised his patroness and mentor Hildegren for the results of his training and skills. A nice voice was heard on Kim's bracelet. He was surprised that she finally answered. Conversation seemed funny to him. The fault was too small in the spiritual stone. The goddess of heroes Hildegren said that he was not offended at all, and the hero had a question regarding the tasks that he periodically appeared. Hildegren said that only partly her desire affects the tasks. Kim was surprised by the words only a part, afraid to imagine what tasks would be of her desires. The protagonist was very interested in the question about the easy way of tasks, where without making efforts you can get many points of characteristics. But Hildegren disappointed him, explaining that tasks do not work in this way and heroes should not run away from is necessary to overcome many difficulties to become stronger. Kim wondered why he was a hero if the hero's path is so terrible and thorny, and fate is filled with that villains in this world feel better than anyone else. The guy boasts that power rules for him, and for him personally, strength is martial law. In the world everything is decided by force, and it does not matter the hero or not. Having considered it necessary, he asked to fill him up with tasks so that he could properly pump faster. The patron goddess Hildegren has not yet been able to put up with her too annoying ward. The action switches to the last earthly training of future heroes, even sad to part with you. Very soon you will leave the earth, and here is the last barrier in your path, Lee Dovi said. The one who decided to conquer Pangea must certainly go through the dungeon, is where the head ends. The proof of the evidence is in the measurement between the earth and Pangea, and does not belong to any of the goddess mother created this special dungeon, as well known as the tutorial. to protect insufficiently prepared heroes. In the dungeon are not only goblins, but also real monsters who want to kill and gobble up future heroes. If you are scared, turn around and leave right now. The hero is a profession in which you need to be prepared for survival. Li Dan said. Those who have already become heroes will not be able to enter the dungeon. This place is intended only for future. The opportunity to follow them will still be. Clan's representatives will be able to observe the actions of future heroes in real time. Also, everyone will be given a magic armor, but this is a minimum security measure. Future heroes breathed a sigh of relief whether Dalian hastened to warn that they were not given armor, and if they lose it, they would test has begun. Kim began the search for the equipment he needed, rummaging in the gland. Having moved all the options, he tried to find the right. After asking the instructor if there is something from the tissue armor so that the movement does not constrain, he simply advised him to take what is. Choosing an armor, the heroes went to the dungeon of evidence. The bewildered heroes could not believe that they were going there alone without the help of the instructor, and were slightly scared, because monsters were waiting for them there. Except Kim. For him, that Morim, that Pangea is just a change of scenery. Kim was confident in his abilities and is sure that he would prove them to how he spent 7 years in Morim, trying to get out of the bottom. Once on the other end of the battle, Kim grabbed his head, hearing a third-party noise. He thought that there were monsters. Sonbi hearing the familiar voice of Hun Dubian. He saw her and Li Jia. Kim said that all the heroes were scattered in different places after the intersection of the Dryan was delighted that they found him, because according to her, success awaits them together. But Li Jia doubted this venture, because Kim did not have mana, and without her he could not use. She asked Hun whether she was sure that he was needed in the team. Kan Pyeokchul intervened in the conversation, saying that the hero had a brilliant power that he saw with his own eyes. Kim was surprised that Kan called him Hunim. A strange conversation about age arose between the guys. Kim did not believe that Ken was only 21 because of his appearance, noting that he even had his head bald. Not a small group of 10 people gathered, and Kan Dubian offered Li Jia further to maintain light magic, to which she replied that she agreed, because she was calm for the amount of her mana. Hun recalled that the teams were watching all the actions of the teams. Jia immediately thought that nagging was unacceptable and did not understand how to be. Having ordered everyone, Hun told Kan Pyeokchul and Kima to go ahead, and other heroes take a convenient position for themselves. Tech Hall was delighted that they would be together with Kim, and Kim, on the contrary, realized that he could not see the silence today. Seeing something strange in Dolly, Hun asked Ji to shine forward. A huge invasion of spiders appeared behind the rays of the light. The team was a little scared by the abomination on its row. Only Kim said with a mockery that Tangia was surprising him more and more. The first Hun entered the battle. Overcoming half the evil with a sewing protagonist was upset that he missed the honorary write-off. The first attack, the insects slowed down sharply, which surprised Dran showed herself with dignity, as is supposed to the hero of the unique class. During the battle, Kim came a new task getting rid of pests, the hero's duties, which mentioned that it was impossible for all the laurels to go to the Godnets. Then he could not lose. This was the first thing he thought before the attack. Concentrated on energy, Kim went on the matter how quickly he attacks. He still has 11 technicians left to cope with these bugs. Pyeokchul was amazed at the battle. Like the whole Dryan, used all her knowledge and skills in attempts to deal with this abomination. Han Dryan said that she always knew that they would fight side by side. The guy strained the words, because this is not the first time he hears this. Li Jia did not understand in surprise how this guy could fight at the same level with Hun Dryan if he has 0 mana. With his success in battle, perseverance and fearlessness, he overcame insects, thereby raised his level and completed the task. Ridicule asked the heroes, are they going to show off before the clan's representatives and raise the level? But Han Dryan noted that he did not leave the children of the monsters in order to do it. Seeing a crowd of angry goblins, Kim chose to give them to the other guys, but he was most interested in Lial. With her mood, she knew that they were on her shoulder. Li Jia was joined by their physically strong comrade Kang Bai-hul. An incredible attack of future heroes of a unique class motivated the rest of the guys from their detachment. Kim Son, having seen again a new task, was surprised at the possibility of their soon appearance, and changed his mind to concede monsters, who did not manage to prove himself to the heroes. This is where the head is ending. Kim eagerly and dependent continued to rub the monsters, leaving Weatherjni and Kim Baihal, to which they had already managed to express their misunderstanding to Kim. He simply replied that it just happened, and all the monsters and experience from them will go to him. Kim-san began to realize his pleasant dependence, obtained in 7 difficult years, in Marima. Not letting go of the future hero of the course, he liked it. Lee Jia, along with Kan, was still indignant at Kim's violated promise to give in to the goblin to them. Kim was obsessed with the murders. For him there is a factor that sharply increases his desire. It becomes better. At the headquarters of the Union, on the top floor, in the observation room, S. mother took care of observing the dungeon of evidence, because before it was impossible to observe something that was happening in any way, and the drones were not provided for observation in Pangeo. Members of the clans fell into the unfamiliar Kim-san Kim with a unique class of a mercenary, vagabond, from which nothing could be expected because he did not have mana necessary for the use of skills. Of course, the members of the clans did not forget to follow Hun Quan, but the unexpected Kim-san made to think about his combat capacity, which was not known to them. Kim immediately wished to sign several members of the clans. Lee Jia continued to wonder about the promise of Kim-san. Perhaps this is due to the fact that at first they did not notice him. The offended future heroine asked. Kim-san replied that he simply could not resist at the sight of blood, but still feeling his guilt, again promised to give in to a couple of monsters. He builds himself dick. Understand what? The angry Lee Jia said. Future heroes went further. Kim-san heard a strange sound from the cave, which the rest of the heroes did not sound repeated, alerting the tramp mercenary. The future hero Kim-san was right. A crowd of slugs unexpectedly attacked his team. Sun thought whether his sword could hurt this jelly-like substance. Well, he thought. Can Pekol advance the attack? In order to prove his value to the team and members of the clans watching them, the proud Kan of Pekol cut the slugs with one blow, for which he received compliments from the entire team. The class of the avant-garde warrior is quite useful, Kim-san thought. Kan Quan decided to keep up with the team. Using a sickle attacked the slugs in order to show her strength of a promising unique class. Dare not to miss the chance to prove herself. Weatherjia also joined the battle using her spell. The ice spear should be more elegant than the abilities of Cancun and Kim Baikal, Weatherjia said. Charged to the victory of Kim-san, also decided to join the battle, but Lee Jia stopped him, saying that if he has a conscience, let him remain in his place. But since half of the slugs was defeated, and Kim promised to give in to the whole couple of monsters, he did not violate his promise. Kim attacked the slugs, but in order not to miss at least something, Jia and Kan Pekal decided not to stand still, and also joined the battle. Having dealt with the jelly-like essence, future heroes noticed a significant increase in level. In Kim-san, the level jumped up to 12, and his characteristics changed markedly. Comparing with the beginning of his path, the motivated future heroes headed for the last were surprised that they were the first. But Kim-san considered it completely his merit. Suddenly, another team of heroes came out. Surprised heroes did not understand how the San and Brand team got here so quickly, thinking that they found a secret path. Kim-san was upset by the loss of another chance to chop the monsters. Kan Quan said that there will now be a final boss, often calling 1 or 2 simple hobgoblins. But sometimes monsters appear like dark orcs, in which case the number of victims increases quite much. Unknown news reached the heroes. They could not understand what it was, but they were ready. A heavy step, heavy breathing. These are dark orcs. The team of the heroes strained, because there were already 3 of his, where the head ends. Seeing the whole 3 dark orcs, many future heroes were scared to retreat. The dark orcs began to decisively interrupt one after another, even more frightening the heroes. Dark orcs killed helpless heroes of losers. Kim-san understood that there was no point in expecting a miracle, and we must take everything into their own hands. Kim-san entered the battle with one of the dark orcs, realizing that it was hopeless and too risky to attack one. Not understanding what the headquarters of the Heroes Union hopes for, because it is almost impossible to expect newcomers to expect a successful joint attack. Kim Sanmi said. Kan Pekal joined Kim-san, delighting the almost desperate San. Frightened by the life of her comrades, Hun Quan entered the battle, telling Kan Baikal to retreat, but Kan, confident in his team, did not listen to Swan. One of the dark orcs attacked Hun Quan, almost giving her a chance to win. Kim-san was experiencing his partner, Vel, having to retreat to her. The future hero of Kim Son came the task from the hero goddess about the salvation of his partner Hun Kwan. The reward is promised quite a few experience, a good improvement in skills, and most importantly, praise from allies for 5 minutes. Kim Il-yeon thought about his fear and realized that he had no right to fear. Since Hun Slan could hero was not the first time in the complete hell, trembling with horror and survived each time. The hour has come to prove that for 7 years in Murim they were not in vain. Kim heroically attacked the Dark Orc in order to protect the girl, having wounded the Dark Orc kunai and delivering several blows. The future hero of the unique class realized that his opponent had not only huge power, but also excellent technique, having risked Kim Il-yeon several more blows. Seeing that the Dark Orc trembles with a weapon, the hero was getting closer to victory. In the battle not for life, and the most cold-blooded always wins death. Having doubted, the Dark Orc received a dagger in the shoulder. Kim Son then inflicted 6 fists on the face of the Orc. Son. He, in turn, continued to quickly wipe the Dark Orc, inflicting a large number of powerful blows to him, managing to mock that a miserable little man had driven a great Dark Orc into a dead end. Suddenly for Kim Son, the Dark Orc unexpectedly increased its strength, pushing Kim Son, who had almost defeated him, putting him in an unprofitable position. The Dark Orc was able to injure the future hero, forcing more and more doubtful of his abilities and the chance of victory. Kim Penchol appeared, who decided to help the almost defeated Kim Son, delighted with his strength, and, in general, by the fact that he could survive collapsed his powerful abilities on a Dark Orc. This is where the head dance. Kim, delighted with endurance Hun, is proudly fought with a joint attack. Hun Nankin Pyokchul slowed the caught the moment. Kim realized that this was enough to kill the Orc. Joint efforts, they overcame what they considered invincible. The level of Kim increased at the end of the team was glad that she was able to win what they wanted to run and give up. Kim received the hero's praise and strength. The values of the characteristics. Internal energy rose by 250. Strange sensations swept the main character. The sensations of filling forces. Active boiling of blood. A condition that he could not describe in words. He felt confidence in victory, as real heroes feel like. Kim Il-yeon realized that it was too early to celebrate the victory, and there were 2 more Dark Orcs. Without killing the bosses, not to get out of the dungeon, the future hero was ready to risk his life in order to save everyone else. The heart was beating like crazy. It was extremely dangerous, but you can't get anywhere from the alien rushed into the battlefield, even if he would have to put his life on the con. The future hero began to quickly apply his various techniques on his dark enemies. Quickly fought off his enemies with his techniques, realizing that due to the length of their swords, he needs to reduce the distance a lot. The outcome of the battle depends on the speed of his attacks. In an incredibly fast blow, the future hero deprived the Dark Orc that he would be incredibly difficult alone against the 2 Dark D rank Orcs. Given that the buff lasts only 5 minutes, if his action ends Kim Il-yeon, he would die. Without proved his capabilities, Kim Il-yeon delivered a powerful blow to the shoulder of the Dark Orc, but this turned out to be few, and there was no confidence that he had touched the bone. Dark Orcs applied the strengthening, forcing the future hero to think about whether he will have time to kill them until the end of the buff of his abilities. Kim heard the voice of Hun Dryon, while she was used the sickle of harvest, Li Jia lightning. The battle developed so rapidly and quickly, the feeling of real hell. This is where the head dance. Not realizing that with the body, Kim stood did not know what to goddess of the heroes hinted to him that, do not stand and just look, to leave the battlefield only because it was a little tired. The weak, even if there is no Kim had no plans to run away, because he wanted to fight to the end. The words of the teacher did not come out of the head of the all. A person who does not let out weapons out of hand once is in a distress. At such a moment, no technique will help, only their skills and abilities, without hesitation, confidently step by step by step by step. It was these words that reminded Kim that the main thing is the belief in itself. Only one up over a strong enemy. You overcome your limit and become Il-yeon and his team confidently, and to victory over the remaining Dark Orcs. A person whose spirit eats victories and whose skills become better every day, and is called a warrior. Kim Il-yeon, thanks to his team, had a chance for 1 million, and he chopped the remaining Dark Orc with 1 blow, increasing the level after victory, receiving the nickname Second Grade Warrior. The skills of martial arts of the 2nd rank are what he was waiting for. Murim was coming out. Victory with the help of faith in oneself and the strength of the team. The team of the heroes was struck by the forces, perseverance and skills of Kim. Han Draen said that he was born for the battles. Li Jia was shocked that with one blow 20 mana, he killed the Dark Orc. Kim Dwan realized that she was not right to Kim's account. Her brother in battle was confident and cold as an icy wind. And Kim is Yarostan and merciless as an awakened volcano. And what was happening were also shocked by the way Kim Ilian cut the Dark Orc in half, not understanding where such a huge force was from the awakened one, which became the future hero just a week ago. One of the clan members recognized his word about this awakened, and found out that his recruiter did not even try to speak with Kim Ilian. However, like the rest of the clans, two members from different clans ordered their recruiters so that it should not be recruited by Kim Ilian. The director of Ilsen Group's Lihani noticed Kim Ilian at the time of the battle with goblins and slugs. Lihani is sure that Kim Ilian will be evaluated even above Hun Quan, since she did not rebuke the heads of the orcs. With the order to offer Kim Ilian a tidy sum, the director sent his recruiter after him so that he would recruit the future hero to not stand. Li Dun discussed what happened in the dungeon with a woman, because they lost a huge number of possible heroes. Li Downs decided to send a letter to the government about the request to increase the budget for the purchase of a protective structure. The woman doubts that the government will allocate money to them since nothing happened. In their opinion, S-Union would also like to recruit Kim Ilian, but is not sure that he would agree, because the current generation has lost the spirit of adventurism. Only money is driven by everyone, the woman said. Suddenly, a portal suddenly opened, from which wounded heroes came out to help other heroes. Kim Ilian was surprised how many things were in Pangea when he listened to stories of Sunchkin. Did not delve a lot, but now he felt everything on himself. With such drugs, the doctors will soon be needed soon, but it tasted disgusting. The general director of the Council of Heroes, Kim Mian, introduced herself to Kim, saying that she was pleased to meet a person who everyone was talking about, to which he reacted with a mockery, redrawing her words. Not even with respect to even just say hello. Having abandoned the proposal to work for the state, Kim offended and outraged the story simply that recently he has only troubles from attempts to become a real hero. Having reviewed different options, so many difficulties in Kim on the way, he did not even listen to the general director. Although Kim Mian was further interested in Kim's desires, but in response she heard only denial. Having decided for himself that he would become a loner better, he further sat silently. Li Dunji said that he understood the desire to get a reward and suggested that Kim would put out his conditions to them, to which he was very surprised. With such a care and the desire to find out what they liked him so much. Maybe they liked him with a victory over Dark Orcs or an opinion about joining the clan, but he considered it not to think for a long time, and not to show off if they give something for free. This was taught by a long life in the poverty of Murim. Kim Ilian decided to put the only condition to the Union of Heroes to give him his magic armor. Li Dun agreed to this condition, deciding to pay the armor on his own, not including the unique hero in the list of eternal debtors. From the director of the Union of Heroes, a single request came: no one to talk about such generous gifts. Clan members burst into the hall, looking forward to signing a contract with a unique hero who defeated the 3 Dark Orcs at all costs. Li Doyan and director of the Heroes Union Kim Min decided to leave the hall, wishing the hero of good luck, because he will not be sweet now, to fight off the group of wild fans. Kim Ilian recalled the case when he felt too early that photographers and fans had fled, and his hero decided to immediately look back to understand whether it was or he was mistaken again. Clan's recruiters began to shout out requests to join their clan and tell what bonuses he would receive. The unique hero first encountered so many attention, especially from those who from the very beginning did not even look in his direction. Kim Ilian received a task from Hildegren: refuse all clan's members. Their eyes were burning, and there was a feeling that they would now tear the main character, because more recently, they did not pay attention to him at all. Breaking through the crowd, the director of the clan, Elson Lihani, who extended his hand to Kim Ilian, who decided to ignore this gesture, came out. After Kim Ilian's refusal, the director of the clan Ilsen, other clans began to be added to the unique hero and lure him with money. Kim answered them that he could not talk to everyone at once, so he speaks only with those who agreed with him about the meeting in advance. All recruiters did not understand which clan managed to agree on or replied that since there were no such ones, he leaves the hall. Kim Il-yeon went to the gates, and until they opened, he decided to test his notice that he had reached the second stage, and he opened more combat skills. Kim Il-yeon decided to discard unnecessary skills to leave only those that are really useful in battle. In Murim, to achieve this level, it took him a year and a half, but here, in Tanja, he was able to achieve this in a week. The goddess of the heroes told Kim Il-yeon that if someone is cool, then only, thanks to her, he received his unique class. However, Hildegren did not engage in modesty. Suddenly the gates opened, and unexpectedly Kim Swol went to his savior, saying that they would go to the out. Kim Kwon embarrassed Kim Il-yeon, mentioning that he was her hero, who at a critical moment cut 3 dark orcs. Kim Swon praised the level of fencing Kim Il-yeon and asked a question of his 7-year absence, and memories of how he was at the very bottom immediately flooded him. A person whose sword serves only for the sake of receiving money and benefit cannot be called a hero. Kim Kwon noted that Kim Il-yeon behaves coldly, but if someone is in trouble, he would risk his life and do everything to save a person dear to him. Kim Kwon suggested Kim Il-yeon to join her family clan, which Kim resolutely Kwon, with the help of physical contact, was able to put up the hero. And still, his answer was strongly Il-yeon hates when someone controls. Kwon decided to ask why he pays so much attention to the one who is over his head. Kim Il-yeon's answer was decisive and recalled that he constantly bowed his head and it's better to be the head of a snake than the tail of the dragon. Kim Kwon suggested Kim Il-yeon to create his own clan. In order to be, Il-yeon decided to think about such a proposal, and if he still decides, he invites Hunswan to join his clan. Kim Kwon decided that she would have to think in any case. The portal in Panji opened, a place in which there is danger and poverty, but you should deal with them. You will get great wealth and glory. All the fighters who were able to show their abilities, which even the Dark Orcs could not stop, became heroes, and ahead of them will definitely expect success. The hero must do great actions, so Sunchkin once answered the question of what it means to be for heroism to get wealth and glory. Kim Il-yeon went to the portal. This is where the head dance. The movement between the worlds is similar to immersion in the depths of the feeling that causes goosebumps throughout the body made Kim Il-yeon open his eyes. He saw a new world full of fantastic landscapes. Not having time to enjoy the landscapes, Kim Il-yeon heard the voice of Hun Kwon, who, only opening his eyes, decided to find out whether Sonp is in order or not. Kim Kwon told Kim that his brother warned her that at the first transition to Pangea, terrible nausea could occur. Since everything was in order with Kim Il-yeon, he asked the bumps not to worry, but it was better to think about himself. Kim Il-yeon, showing his support, knocked Hun Bran on the back, which is why she began to feel scared. Il-yeon thought that this was not what she wanted to see. Only opening his eyes, Kim Kwon asked why he was the only one, forcing Kim Il-yeon to around. He saw that all the heroes who arrived with him suffer from nausea, and Sonp had a little headache. The goddess of heroes Hildegren contacted Kim Il-yeon, asking to recall her characteristics and level to understand why he was alone. It seems that high physical characteristics were able to smooth out an unpleasant you think about it. Hun Blussy has terrible physical preparation. However, only those characteristics that heroes most often use are usually turns out that there is nothing to do with the magic classes. Apparently, in the end, luck decides everything, although the witch class is pretty good. Kim Il-yeon, someone greeted the heroes with the arrival of Orlit in the City of Prosperity. It is a great honor for us to meet you, Earthlings, and we already know in advance what awaits you. There are many things, so I advise you to come into consciousness, said an unknown man who appeared before the heroes. One of the heroes decided to find out the name of an unknown was the main butler of the local lord. Odello Waterman, our owner knows what difficult path you had to do. He has prepared a welcome party for you and really wants to chat with you. Would you agree to honor us with your presence? Asked Odello Waterman. The invitation of the lord, as if from the middle, only arrived in Pangea, and our level is not high. But even such newcomers as we, here, meet in this way. Or do they hope to smack us in order to use it in the future? Thought Kim Il-yeon. The heroes immediately rejoiced that they could spend time with the nobility of place is a fantasy world where an unfair class society still exists. But for the hero it is not the origin, but the. Such rules do not particularly apply to our heroes, and if so, then I can enjoy the reception in the top of the world, Kim Il-yeon said joyful. Odello Waterman immediately disappointed Kim Il-yeon, saying that the heroes who did not conclude an agreement with any clan are not invited and can go about their business. So, with losers who failed to conclude an agreement with the clan, they do not want to communicate. If the hero did not join the clan, he is immediately mistaken for a loser who has neither talent nor a good class. For local, this means that he has neither abilities nor prospects. So future heroes with such zeal are trying to conclude a contract with large clans. Such large clubs brazenly take the profits of their participants, the heroes who are in them. On the one hand, for Kim, this seems symbiosis, but also on the other with too much pressure and extortion with people who, with their knowledge, skills, make the club good glory. For the money received from the heroes, they try to gain the location of the powerful world of Pangea. The clans that do so are essentially seized power, preventing others from developing and rising to others in order to become successful. Kim did not like that popular clans, so successful, only because of dirty tricks. Kim thought that there was no matter for him how much they ruin fate, and how many more there would. Main thing is that he will lead. After all, he has internal energy and knowledge of martial arts, so he can jump over all these stairs with one jump, without making his efforts. BS who thought about Kim were not so, or did not want to take it, they would bite the elbows, realizing what talent they lost, and everyone will regret that such a wonderful hero is not in their clan. Kim Dwan asked Kim what he thought so, because he just stood still like a replied that everything was in order, and he is not worth her. Interested the question of Mr. Odello whether it was possible to take with him only one hero who did not conclude a contract with the clan. The master forbade, saying that this was the order of the Lord himself, and he wished to invite only those who are in the clan. Kim was interested in where to go if they did not enter into any clan. Head off the losers, the professor said with a mockery. Let them understand themselves, because they are not needed anywhere, but nevertheless recommended for a start to visit the heroes of the heroes. Kim was angry with the words of the professor, because he knew his talents and skills, and knew that he was more talented than many of those who are in large clans. The first impression of Pangea, as Kim expected, was in this city are eager only to profit and live among each other's discrimination. The city was originally for Kim a big mystery, which every time solving it, he was surprised, hated, and loved this place. But after so many times spent in Pangea, he can finally draw a conclusion for himself. Hun said that she would go to the guild with Kim, but he said that they would only meet at the university. The main character thought that he was not used to, because in Morim with the like he came across many times. Instead of resentment, anger and idleness, he decided that he would better take up himself, develop and increase his level, than to show all his abilities. The students supported the departure of Kim, who still continued to be indignant. What is the city of heroes if they treat him like that? Unfinished heroes, expressing discontent and insults, were indignant at each in their direction. Kim understood what to do next, but was so angry with the rules that all the thoughts in his head were confused. Nevertheless, Kim decided to hit the road, but did not know where the Hero Guild was. Fortunately, unlike the restless consciousness of the hero, the bracelet on his hand worked properly. Kim found the path and rode to the Guild of Heroes without much. The entrance, there was a marvelous sign, let the glory of the Bogini Mother accompany everyone who follows the hero's path. He went to the guild. Kim saw the full room of the heroes who spoke bows violently, rustled and had fun. Someone asked why there are so many people in the guild today, to which they answered, fool. Today the newcomers arrived. Kim was surprised by the noise, because he was not previously in such places. Sounded on the threshold. The protagonist did not understand why he brought him here and how to find what the professor was talking about. Kim heard a conversation between the guys about the battle in the dungeon against 3 dark orcs, and they were so surprised by the victory. Other guys shared experiences. Suddenly, this time few newcomers, but someone answered him that he had seen a whole crowd in the square. One of the guys maliciously said that the news came to them too late. His interlocutors asked if he owed another information and asked to tell. He said that something was dry in his throat and wished the cool mead to his long story. The interlocutors laughed out loud, but with great interest waited for him to know about the battle in the dungeon and these newcomers. After he drank meads, the interlocutors asked a million questions in anticipation of answers. The guy began the story that among young heroes there are 2 with unique classes, and one of them, using only a sword, cut the throat at once to 3 dark orcs. The interlocutors were so surprised by a story, such a magnificent hero who, at first glance, was generally froze his breath, someone simply was petrified from the story. One of the guys from the next table asked the name of this hero, but alas, the guy did not know him. The hero tried to recall what was the name of the very hero who so mercilessly destroyed 3 dark orcs with 1 sword. The mercenary vagabond was heard from the mouth of the guy. Interlocutors and those present surprised such a name. They thought that he was definitely unique. One of the heroes even felt envy. Kim said that only a unique class is capable of such actions that others agreed all. A unique class is so cool. Kim walked and only heard gossip and news stories about the arrivals of the new ones. He was surprised by the speed with which rumors spilled about him, because they reached the guild faster than the hero himself, as he thought. In the city of young heroes, the majority have AF or rank, but sometimes they come across a rank. This did not surprise him, but he also felt a drop of his strength and he realized that his rank was higher, and the act that he committed was scattered at a great speed in every corner of the city. Kim approached the long-haired blonde who was sitting aside. Dolly from girl was very disappointed, but Kim disturbed her. "Who are you?" quietly, with a drop of sadness in words. The girl did not understand why she would disturb her and pester her when they saw that she was sitting alone. Kim thought that with a warm reception he would not be met here. He understood this still standing in the square in front of the professors. Kim introduced himself to the young hero, said that he was here. Behind the message of an impudent old girl immediately realized who we were talking about, and by whose will the guy is here. She said that this vile old man, who loves to hide behind her, she realized that Kim was one of those whom he humiliated and sent to the Guild of Heroes. The guy who told the news about the secret hero was interested in this young hero. His interlocutors said that he was owned by that butler. The other made fun that Kim had arrived at this world with huge thirst, asked about his successes and a meeting with reality. The company of heroes suggested a drink, to what Kim was strangely responding. After all the gossip, the guys decided to raise the glass, imagining what shame he went through, saying that gossip was their snack. Attention to them. Constant battles with monsters ruined their character, but she also noticed that he should make friends with them, and then he would understand that they were not such a bad company. Kim asked whether such a nose in the guild always asked. The girl said yes. The guy from the crowd began to tell Kim that now the influx of monsters, and each time at the beginning of the year, they become more active. Another noticed that at each arrival of beginners, monsters are more and more attacked, but the heroes deftly cope with this. But, according to the informants, the current wave will be year their number is gradually increasing. It seems that in the demonic world, monsters breed faster and faster. One of the heroes, "Idiot, what a reproduction may have," said. Another hero sitting at the table, "Dubina, what? You were not taught at all before sending to Pangea?" "Yes, if I had an education, I would become a judge or a lawyer, and not a miserable hero-y rank." The heroes argued violently among themselves, managing to mention that they envy Kim Il-yan, thinking that he was now in turn, stands and listens to their conversation. The girl suggested registering, asking the name and class of the hero, to which the rest of the heroes began to bet on his class. Kim Il-yan introduced himself, mentioning that he was named in honor of the dragon who escaped from the abyss of chaos. Mother was afraid for him, because that dragon did not have a pearl that would help him rise. Il-yan proudly said that his pearl is a unique class of a mercenary vagabond. The girl and everyone else was shocked by the hero's fair-haired girl asked the class of Kim Il-yan, thinking that she was just mistaken, but that was not so. One of the heroes could not believe that this is the hero who chopped off the heads of 3 dark girl asked to show a window of characteristics to make sure what she heard. After confirming the personality, the heroes realized that they were chatting about him when he was right in front of them. Began to ask Kim Il-yan about that battle with 3 dark orcs. The heroes immediately had questions why Kim Il-yan was not at the reception of the Lord, but hangs here. The hero of the unique class explained that the Lord invited only those who join any of the clans, but he did not join anyone at all. All the heroes were surprised that the hero with the unique class, who killed 3 dark orcs, still could not conclude a contract with the clan, and no one was interested in them. Kim Il-yan hurt that they think that no one called him, and not he refused. There is one thing that Kim Il-yan realized. While he led the life of A and allies can change places in just one night, it all depends on the tenant, and that is their fate. It is not necessary to make friends and establish connections. The main thing is that there are no real enemies. Heroes discuss their opinion on the alien decided to find out from a girl about the dungeon, with the monsters of the rank. Her and the rest of the heroes scared that Kim Alien was going to the dungeon alone. All representatives of the worst classes called Kim Alien to their small groups, promising to take care of him, but still Kim Alien is not interested in such proposals. All skillful beginners are disassembled by large clans like miserable classes are combined into groups and go into no less miserable dungeons. But today, for some reason, a tramp with excellent prospects turned out to be a mon does not belong to anyone, so everyone wants to become his master. Kim Alien did not understand what they were counting on. If he refused to cooperate with large clans, then why should he even think in order to join them? Kim Alien decided to find out from the girl whether there are dungeons, to which they go to. The girl replied that there were dungeons in the stone mountains that are full of gnolls. The girl doubted that he would cope, which Kim Alien specified that there is no rule forbidding to go there alone. The girl replied that the rules are really not. But another question arises whether he could. Alien is sure that he will go beyond the 6, so there are no problems. The girl did not understand his stubbornness, and the rest of the heroes believed that he was working out. Continuing to call Kim Alien into their alien promise to return to Sunset, Kim Alien headed for the high-ranking gentleman have fun at a welcoming party with chosen heroes. Kim Alien will increase his level with lightning speed. Suddenly, Kim Alien noticed traces heading to the dungeon, well-plugged traces, a clear sign that well-armed heroes went there, and more pale traces belonged to people in lighter armor. Kim Alien understood that he was ahead of him. Kim Alien went in the footsteps in the dungeon. A little later, he saw 5 heroes discussing that there was no time to look for another dungeon. Kim Alien went to them. The heroes asked Kim Alien why he came, replied that he was going to get this. Heroes did not understand and considered suicide that Kim Alien was going to the dungeon alone. One of the heroes noticed that Kim Alien's sword and leather armor are clearly belonging to the Union of Heroes. The girl thought that in front of her a newcomer F rank, and that the test in the dungeon was so easy that he believed so much. Kim Alien understood that it seems that the news did not reach them, because his generation was the most difficult test of all possible. The girl mentioned and that it was an E-rank dungeon, and he should not corrupt his eyes and go downstairs from where he came. One of the heroes began to reassure the girl, who was angry from the fact that Kim did not hero, invited the girl to listen to Kim. Kim Alien understood that the one who reassured the girl was the leader of their small group. Another girl approached Kim Alien and kindly asked if he was a beginner of the F rank, and advised to find the dungeon. Alien was still sure that he would cope alone. The girl continued to laugh, saying that newcomers know nothing about life, so their mortality. His commander continued to stop her. The team commander stopped reassuring the girl and decided to approach Kim Alien. Realizing that he did not intend to retreat, the incredulous Kim Alien thought that they wanted to drive him by force, and put his hand on his sword, waiting for the attack of the team commander. The team commander invited Kim Alien to go down together. Of his allies supported the idea of the commander, waiting for the answer of Kim Alien. Kim Alien thought about the idea to go with them, but also thought about putting them all and go down one. Kim Alien received a task from the goddess of heroes Hildegard to make friends with them, and for this he will receive a good reward. The reward also included a mighty potion, in search of which Kim Alien was almost chopped off. Kim Alien is infuriated by the ranting of Hildegard about heroism, but for the sake of this drug you can tolerate. Kim Alien understood that he could get other things from Marima, and agreed to join the group of heroes. The team of heroes, along with Kim Alien, went to the dungeon, where there was a terrible smell of was quite spacious. Outside it seemed completely different. The girl continued to be angry with Kim Alien for the fact that now all the prey would have to be divided into. Girl apologized for her in front of Kim Alien. The girl told the secret of their team to Kim. All could not find a team for various reasons, but the commander spared them and took them into the team. Kim Alien recalled that they did not introduce themselves to each. Girl said that her name is Lee Jasa. Her class is a healer, and a flower age is 29 years old. Kim Alien was interested in why each of them could not find a girl. Explained that this is all because of rumors, even more forcing Kim Alien to think. The girl said that, for example, hear Kim say that her past group lost a rare artifact which contains light thought on her, because she has a robber class. And this archer also killed all his team members, only he was left. Everything is adjusted, or he was damn out of lucky, Kim Alien thought. As for the commander, the girl did not know anything, as she recently joined the group and considers the commander a good person. Kim Il-yeon could not miss the option that he was hiding his dark secrets. The girl indignantly told Kim to behave quieter if they do not want the monsters to notice them. She was very inferior, that she already had a shallow after the exaltation of magical characteristics, and now also share profit. The girl wanted to recognize Kim better, so she asked him to tell a little about herself. He introduced himself as Kim Il-yeon. The class of a girl was surprised that such a class exists. Tosk said that the enemy in front, picking up a weapon and shouted to prepare the whole team. The commander was tuned to the battle right away and asked how many of them were, replied that about 12. Judging by quiet sounds, most in light armor. He ordered Das to be for support, Tesoka to protect them at a distance, and to get the sword and stand next to him. The new Kima ordered to protect Das-an was disappointed because he did not like the role of the shield. Among the dark cave, intelligence gnomes appeared and the evil monsters were completely readiness for battle. Their eyes blazed the desire of victory. The first strokes were from the bow of Tesuk. Mercilessly he first climbed into battle, without a drop of fear. The arrow behind the arrow was struck by the gnome, who decided to first attack the archer. The vile monster flew off. The arrows of gnomes saw the defeat of their comrade, which angered them much more. The eyes of the monsters blushed and filled with blood in the desire for revenge, for there were visited by a feeling of a rush of strength due to hatred. Joanne's smile appeared on the archers was more and more configured for further battle, because he was able to defeat one of the terrible monsters. The commander decided not to stand aside, just took a sword, which was not the first to help him in battle, and entered the attack against monsters. The commander had much more strengths than the Tesuk. One blow, he cut the enemy, an arrogant monster, who was the first to attack him. The girl saw that the commander was surprising. She said a couple of affectionate words in his direction and mentioned that it was necessary to put on the armor tightly. The hero viciously said that he has no more money on the armor and better, so he uses everything that he has. Dasus tilted her head a little. She brought her hands to her face and began to ask for mercy from the mother goddess, so that she would send them a blessing and help to heal the wounded team commander. The goddess heard the requests, prayers and words of Dr. Das and sent healing to the commander in this battle, so that he could continue that heroic battle. The hero smiled and thanked Dasa and the goddess for the help shown. His wounded shoulder began to heal in the moment and became the same. Only the scar now decorated his shoulder. Kim realized that the level of this team is higher than the future heroes from his thoughts. Indicates that this is the battle of Iraq veterans. Kim saw that his progress was a little improved. Although he just stands, wondered whether he should do something or just stand still and wait, because to increase him nothing needs to be done. For himself, the hero concluded that it is better to stand and idle, because progress is already increasing, and he can just relax and watch what is happening. The fight of those who in front became more and more serious. The dwarves flew more and more on. The commander said not to miss them and that everyone should be defended. The plans of wild monsters change. They were going to attack the healer, but she was not alone, because before the battle it was thought out in advance. Kim saw their intentions, said that he was defending the healer with misfortune, and they simply have no chance to harm the girl, and began to protect her in front of her. He was sure that Das was safe with him. The monsters rushed to the frightened kisser girl, eager to kill her with Kim Il-yeon, whom you can't scare. Kim Il-yeon with a smile on his face took out his sword and waited for the monster's attack, about to stop the frantic dogs with a blow to the head. Kim Il-yeon easily dealt with the was more and more pleased that he still had a chance of battle, and he was able to cope with the monsters even with his bare hands, surprising his team. The team of the heroes was glad and surprised that Kim Il-yeon was able to cope with all the monsters alone, forcing him to think whether he was really a beginner or not. The girl thanked Kim Il-yeon for her, was delighted by the good manners of the girl, and he replied that this was just a work entrusted to him. The team commander was insanely pleasantly surprised by Kim talking with the hero. The commander mentioned the name of Kim Il-yeon, although the mercenary himself did not tell his commander. It turned out that the leader of the team simply overheard the conversation of Kim Il-yeon and Das, reassuring Kim Il-yeon. The commander admitted that at first he thought that this was only a show-off by virtue of his age, because how to go to the dungeon with E rank alone. The commander praised Kim, saying that he was a rather capable hero, apologizing for a neglect and rude attitude, because they thought that he was an inexperienced newcomer. Kim said that he was an inexperienced newcomer because he literally just arrived, and commander was very surprised. The girl asked how the beginner so cleverly coped with 6 other guy was also surprised that on the first day this is possible. The girl was more than interested in who Kim really and where he got such skills. The archer expressed the idea that this could be an very amazing talents for a beginner. Dasus reminded that the Kima class is a tramp mercenary. I asked if this is a unique class. After all, then everything becomes clear where he has so much power. The guy was surprised that Kim is from a unique hull. It turns out that he is returning. From this it is clear where such workshops from the possessions of weapons. The archer said that it was very all. Kim, a man from a unique class, has not yet acquired either a clan or a team. Kim did not know what to answer, and he had to think out on the go, saying that some circumstances simply arose. The commander stopped the discussion of the it turned out they still have people with a similar situation. In addition, Ilian probably does not want to talk about this topic, so he suggested finishing. With a smile, the commander noticed that they were very all. Their team is now such a talented fighter. The team agreed with the words of its was glad to replenish an experienced person in the team. The commander proposed to finish his acquaintance at this moment and asked the porters to finally engage in cleaning. Kim had not previously seen purges and had no idea what it was and what was needed for. He thought that this brought some income, to which the commander replied to him that this was not entirely true, but their equipment contains manu. The commander said that in the main mana, there is very little, but in this case they turned to the masters who were able to remake objects into good weapons or protection. Kim also has the question of what they are doing with it turned out. They are used for rituals or conspiracies, or used for drugs and potions. Kim realized what cleaning is and why it is parallel with the thoughts of the hero. The commander explained that the whole thing is in the purity of mana and in the ability to transfer it. The dungeon is appreciated by materials that can be assembled from defeated main character was surprised by the story, because most he did not know. Kim asked how the equipment created on the ground was different from what is in commander reply, that the earthly looks better and easier to use, but there is one but the earth's weapon is too expensive and Pangea most simply does not have money for it. The commander admitted that from equipment from Pangea it often smells of mice, and the local equipment causes itching throughout the body, and it is quite difficult to remove it. The memories of Murim were enveloped in Kim. He recalled how he wears a cloak from the rain, which stuck a rot, and the hat was a natural sieve. The water just streams flowed down his face. However, the commander noted that high-ranking equipment is carried out only in Panga, because on Earth they are not yet able to do this. The porters noticed something very interesting among one of the monsters. Really, the commander and the group were very surprised, because the porters found the mana stone. The heroes were delighted with the mana stone they received. Someone even saw such a stone for the first. Archer asked the commander what rank this mana stone. Having examined the stone of mana a bit, the commander said that he was not yet sure, but most likely he is the lowest rank. Two other heroes did not understand why they had so much regret in their vows, because even if the mana stone turned out to be the lowest rank, it can still be sold for 10 million won. The archer thought where the mana stone came from, because such appear only in the dungeons of the rank D and higher, and only registered mobs or bosses possess them. The girl asked the archer to just enjoy and think about money on her account. Like all other joyful heroes, a stone mana found in Danji rank may indicate a breakthrough of the dungeon, and I, as a representative of his class, should take care of the well-being of the group, said the archer. The girl asked him to stop, because he was so worried only because his whole past team your sad experience to yourself. The girl said. Kim Ilian asked Dasaso about the breakthrough of the dungeon. The girl replied that periodically the god of demons becomes stronger. Then demonic energy penetrates into the dungeon, under the influence of which the power and number of monsters increase sharply. As soon as their number reaches a critical point, the monsters quickly break their gatherings, pose a threat to the nearest cities. Kim Ilian suggested simply destroying the porter was able to convince the hero, saying that there is no sense in this, because the dungeons are created by the god of demons. Having destroyed the old somewhere a new one will appear, it's better to let their locations be known. Kim Ilian realized that instead of destruction, they were trying to control the dungeons by the guilt. Everything is as the porter said. Then this is really the best option. The archer asked Kim Ilian if he noticed something strange, because it happens that monsters with mana stones evolve in monsters of high ranks. The hero did not notice anything, because he instantly chopped off. Their archer said that nothing is afraid, and he may not pay attention. Kim Ilian recognized the information useful for himself from the commander told everyone to line up. in a combat position and move forward. The heroes heard the clatter of the gnolls, presumably about 20, and someone was huge with them. The commander immediately realized that this was 100th commander of gnolls, but he could live a little longer if he had to wait for the heroes in the boss hall. The commander announced a strategy. It has not changed. The Dachin distracts the boss, and the rest destroy the mobs. Then we unite again. The heroes hoped to get another so hard to reach mana dreams were interrupted by the loud cry of the boss. The commander, having heard the scream of the boss, was worried about whether it was definitely 100th commander of gnolls, at least not 1,000th. Seeing the crowd of gnolls, the heroes did not notice the boss of these commander could not understand where then such a loud scream came from. The archer tensed. Because there was no sound from the monsters, he was more interested in the battle now, because he was determined. To begin with, the team decided to deal with the gnomes who were already ready to attack and told Ilian to help, and not just stand still. The guy said that he was pleasure to break through the crowd of these monsters. In a tense battle, the girl was very interested in the level of the group commander, because he fought with such force. In the battle, the commander and other participants foreseed minor injuries. The commander, for his old attack, as always, went the most. Dasus again turned to the mother goddess for help and mercy, so that she would send them her blessing and help to heal the team. The goddess mother sent her help, a blessing in battle, in order to heal the wounded. Kim with a smirk said that there was too much was not in the first such battle, because in previous attacks he constantly won. And this raised his fighting spirit more and more. At the moment, something happened. The team did not understand. I heard only a strange loud girl turned, saying he is only, and the team turned to the trace after her. The commander was unconscious, sitting near the sword and shield lay aside, and the commander himself tried to come into consciousness on his own. The guy saw the commander, thinking that it was 100th, but in fact a girl was surprised where he came from in the E-rank dungeon. That the archer dispelled all the thoughts and questions where he was here, because yesterday they found a stone mana, which is a huge rarity. A huge monster appeared in front of them, with predatory eyes, looked at the team, knowing his superiority and confidence in his victory. The girl was shocked by the gnoll commander seen by the 1,000th commander, and could not understand where such a giant could hide. The archer explained to scared girl that Captain Knowles appear after some outbreak, perhaps use the skill of invisibility. Captain Knowles made it clear that one of his exact blow could kill the heroes with a powerful blow. The heroes did not waste time talking and was ready to fight. Kim Ilian saw that the neck of Captain Knowles was not completely protected. Captain Knowles crushed everything around. Kim Ilian thought out his battle tactics. Captain Knowles quickly fled to the archer and was about to strike his crushing blow, as other heroes of the team stopped him. Captain Knowles wounded the archer and well repulsed the rest of the heroes, and unexpectedly for her she did not notice how the captain of Knowles moved and was already ready to kill her, but at the last moment he was holding a sword in her hand. The confident Kim Ilian jumped. Kim Ilian struck the blow, not understanding the confidence of the commander of the Knowles, because he attacks with his neck open to strikes. Kim Ilian inflicted many quick blows, surprising Captain Knowles by his power. Suddenly, for the heroes, all the gnolls interrupted by them were revived, as if they were alien never came across this, but was ready for battle. More experienced heroes understood that perhaps somewhere there is a girl asked Das to bless their weapons to cope with the newness with the gnolls. Kim Ilian noticed that his and heroes' weapons began to him. This was a great surprise, and all the heroes rushed into battle to finally finish off the gnolls. Suddenly for everyone, the captain of the heroes' team woke up in anger and attacked the revived gnolls and their invincible captain. Kim Ilian attacked Captain Knowles with the hope of breaking the flesh and cutting the enemy's bones. The captain of the team of the heroes immediately threw back the commander of Knowles, but Kim Ilian struck an open wound of the enemy. Kim Ilian completed the task of Hildegren and killed the commander of it is the unique warrior Muri. Kim Ilian. After the victory over the enemies, Kim said that the consequences after the battle were a familiar picture, for only difference in them is that the heads are not human. The girl was in shock and misunderstanding. The guy coped so quickly with all enemies, but she remembered that this technique of a sword of pleasure helped him to overcome everyone so quickly, and there is nothing surprising in this. Monsters of the gnomes began to collapse. Their huge bodies simply dissolved, and the team was in shock, including Kim, because he sees this for the first time. The commander said that the main gnomes was explained that such curses are losing power. if they kill the one who put them. The commander thanked him for the assistance provided in battle, and his heroic victory was delighted with the strength and skills of the guy. Kim was glad of the commander's words. He was pleased, but still he noticed that they were all one group, and helping each other is their duty. The archer was slightly offended by the fact that Kim was so much attention, and said that this time the 1000th commander was somehow weak. Although he may have become recently, the protagonist thought that really victory was given to them. Somehow team's expectations were not at all like that, especially with Kim, because this is his first fight with a new team. The girl went to Kim, trying to say something. She became to said openly if she was interested in something, then let him say so. The guy said that she wants to express gratitude for the salvation, but experiences too much shame, and she has enough spirit only for incoherent muttering. The girl shouted at the guy for saying her words, although she was straining her excitement, which even became embarrassed. The hero said that the girl would not be worried, because everyone would do that in his are still one team. Kim thought about the team, a little thought that their team is certainly not united, where everyone trusts each other. He cannot say anything positive about the suspicious temporary group at all. The girl said that she simply thanked him out of politeness, no more. The commander proposed to consider the prey after the victory, because this time they got a lot, and the list was huge. Kim never saw this and asked the commander what it. Chief replied that this was an appraisal scroll of a middle level, where you can see everything that got after the battle. Dasa said that one such scroller costs experiences. He said that it is really too expensive. All the booty was written on the rank stone mana. The second is the same manned rare ring of invisibility of a crazy only good find. The commander thought. The archer said that most likely the 100th commander was increased to 1000th, and due to inexperience, he is not as strong as previous 1000 commanders. The girl was surprised that the stones are not the lowest, but just a low was interested in what their price, which the commander replied that usually their price is about 30 million. Kim thought that for ordinary little mana stone it is too expensive, because this is the price of a middle class. This is not comparable to the usual stone. The commander said that in the extraction they still have a ring, not the most common artifact, and his rank is rare. The price of it will be about 60 or 70 million. The team was very delighted with prey. The guy even joked that he had the feeling that they had won the lottery. Joe of the team had no balance. The chief said that they should calm down and stop rejoicing in order to think about how they will share all this with each other. The commander began the counting and said, if you count a trifle, it will turn out about 120 million, which may well be enough for the whole team. Kim was surprised that such an amount managed to earn in just a day, but how much can be earned over the cost, his smile, and the desire of such battles more often. The archer said that it was too strange even that they would receive so much money. At the girl said that this is not the usual dungeon. Looking at the heads of the monsters whom they won, Kim said that they were really very capable if they could clean up this dungeon, claiming that they would also be killed by the other group. The archer hoped that the situation is so difficult in all dungeons, or otherwise this wave would be very dangerous. To begin with, the girl suggested deciding how much each of them would receive, but for some reason the commander did not quite like this idea. To begin with, they had to calculate the fee for the services of porters, as well as postpone 20 on taxes in Ildel and on Earth, and then the rest should be divided into 6. The girl expressed indignation why they should give the state as many as 20. The archer laughed at her and said, if it annoy it, let it become the hero of a rank, and she will be exempted from paying taxes. Each turned out 16 million, which quite satisfied everyone. Especially a smile appeared on Kim's face. Kim thought that 16 million won is an impressive amount, but compared to 120 million it looks extremely sorry, and he would like more. Kim asked why such a nondescript steel ring has such a value, and why they give so much money for all. There are objects that look many times more. The commander said that, unlike armor, which is only on the body, artifacts like rings can be used in large quantities and put them on all 10 fingers. As it turned out, this is a nondescript silver. Invisibility became too interesting, and he wanted this ring to himself. Having announced a moment of attention, the commander praised everyone for his efforts and excellent work today. Despite the sudden appearance of a 1000th commander who arranged a commotion, the team was not at a loss and won the attack. In gratitude for such a fight and a date, the the commander decided to treat the team with a potion, saying that healing cures only visible wounds, and the potion will help from everything. He explained that no one can be sure that they have no internal wounds, so everyone should drink one at all in case. The team thanked him, and the guy noticed that he was just itching to wound from a spear, and he would accept the gift with pleasure. Kim decided that he should not give up a thought that it was with a taste of ginseng and a kind of medicine for Oriental medicine, but at the moment his face crouched, he began to wipe his lips with his hand, saying that all the useful products are bitter, and maybe this is so. At the moment, the taste of bitterness, like Kim's face, said that the liquid changed its taste and became sweet. In the moment, all the heroes became ill. They began to wriggle, complain about pain inside themselves. Kim asked what was happening, what he had given the last forces. The girl also tried to find out what she drank and why she had such pain and strange sensations. The commander's eyes were filled with some kind of rejoice and asked how the team is the effect of this healing potion. From the last forces, the team began to understand what they had appeared on them. There were strange feelings inside them, and the pain only improved. The commander said that this is a potion sending manhua, and no matter how strong the hero is, in any case he would act on him. With an unpleasant sensation in the throat, Kim said that the commander was trying uselessly. He himself thought how Manu could be sent and what would be now. With impudence, confidence and anger in his eyes, the commander laughed and said that everyone who drank this potion was waiting for one end. The commander honestly admitted that in small bottles, there was a gift in the form of poison. Soon, Mana will cease her movement. She will be in the same way. Even breathing will become difficult. Hands and other parts of the body will not be felt, because this is the action of the poison. With a grin and mockery of his team, the commander continued his story. Kim was covered by thoughts how this potion works, whether it affects the hero's internal energy. The main character was worried about what would happen to him, and how this poison would affect him. Without feeling any reaction of his body, Kim sat in anticipation of a couple of minutes of waiting. He felt some transformations and incomprehensible sensations within himself. According to the bracelet, which on the hand of the protagonist, a call from the patroness, the goddess of the heroes, received a call. She only wanted to report and recall that the protagonist does not have mana, and no poison will help destroy what is not. Kim laughed at himself and his precious time of his life. He was waiting for something, forgetting the most important thing. He smiled, and the words of the goddess of the heroes were constantly repeated in his head. Not noticing Kim, the commander continued to rejoice at his little unsuccessful victory over the team. He continued to tell that they were only a bunch of losers, whom he gathered for the sake of his benefit and achieved it. But, fortunately, then he did not know everything. The archer, like other team members, tried to find out why he did this with them, for what. Indeed, from the very beginning, he made friends with everyone so believably and joined the trust of the heroes. The commander did not look for excuses for himself. He said, "Do you want to survive to old age? Do not make mistakes. Do not get into trouble. Do not create problems." Words that did not justify his act to the team, to which he was so merged into confidence, changing his calm face to a grin and mockery. He said that in his carelessness you can run into an outsider like him. In an unknown team was anger, but exhausted. They did not understand why they got such at the beginning of the attack. They were more confident in him than in Kim, and in the end, due to miserable prey, he wanted to get rid of them. Kim thought and asked why. Then the commander took the newcomer to his team. Not knowing anything about all, Kim is now the only one who has not become a victim of his gift. The commander said that he was very impressed with such tramps as the main character. After all, no one needs them, and in the case of the loss of them, even no one will look for them, and it is too convenient for him. There will be no demand from him, and everything that he will receive will remain only to him. Kim did not understand and directly asked how for some 120 million there you could kill 7 innocent people who helped him, who saved him and wounded. In response, he heard only the loud laughter of the main thing. With a laugh, he asked what it means for some. If it is whole 120 million, the commander said that their lives are no longer standing, even if they don't think about this. Most likely, he thought that he would continue to have benefits from the same ordinary heroes who each time appear in the dungeon with the desire to raise the level and improve abilities. There was a misunderstanding in Kim's. Did not understand what the commander had a distorted perception of death. If for him to kill 7 innocent as a common thing, he was not even worried about the feelings of the team, not to mention everything else. Das turned to the commander, asking why and how he could relate to human with all her strength, told him a couple of offensive words and simply fell silent, falling to his feet. The guy also supported the insults towards the commander, grabbing his felt that piercing pain again and again, which slowly killed the team. The commander became angry with the words and accusations of the team that said that he would consider this their dying, was ready to take revenge on them for all the words he heard. His eyes were poured with blood, and there was more and more anger on his face. In time, Kim came a new task in which it was mentioned that he should triumph, for the task was about a biomuser born behind the ground and the nurtured Pangea. Kim's task was to chop off the head of the commander. Only then it would be considered completely fulfilled. With a surge of strength and energy, Kim thought how this task came to him in time, and the level will raise and will take revenge on all the bad actions that the commander performed in relation to the team. From surprise and misunderstanding, the commander froze and did not understand how Kim could move. After all, after the poison, which he gave the team in the form of a gift, he should not even speak. And Kim got up, taking his sword in his hands, smiled at the commander, knowing that he would take revenge on everything now. Kim, with a mockery of the commander, asked if he heard about people who did not have mana. Of course, the commander did not understand and did not believe how this could happen, that Kim generally speaks for nonsense. With pride and self-confidence, Kim said that the commander deserved everything. After all, for what he fought, he ran into it, and for such dishonest actions, an honest and fair reckoning awaits him now. Left without a hand, the commander tried to find out why such a strong potion did not work, on which he replied that he did not have mana, and his plan failed with him, no matter how he tried. The commander was angry with such nonsense. He did not understand how the hero could fight this way without mana, because in battle Kim showed himself a very worthy hero and fighter, who was able to overcome all the set goals easily. The commander decided to put pressure on Pity that he could kill his fellow countrymen with his own, asked him to stop and just talk. He was afraid for his life, although before that he was determined to deprive the lives of innocent 7 people without even giving them a word, or he begged for mercy. Kim only laughed with the conversation of the biomuser, but decided not to regret this scoundrel. Therefore, he gave him the opportunity to say the last words before punishment for all his nightmarish actions. Not having time to say anything, Kim chopped off his head, raising the level and taking revenge on his entire team. He remembered that in Morim, he also did not leave alive those who stuck his knife into his back, but certainly one could not regret it. They returned to the Guild of the Heroes. Again, seeing the sign, "Let the glory of the Mother's Mother accompany everyone who follows the hero's path." The familiar place where the path of the protagonist began, and without which the whole situation in this dungeon would not happen. The girl in the League of Heroes thought about Kim he alive at all. It will be completely unpleasant if he died in the dungeon, which the girl experiencing for the fate of the hero spoke about. But suddenly the door to the League of the Heroes opened, and the whole Kimillion went inside, the lively and completely whole. The girl thought that since he had returned so quickly, then surrendered half the way, and advised me not to be all. When he collects the team, he will be able to cope with such dungeons. Kimillion simply silently put the bag on the table, surprising that the bag lay the head of the outsider commander. The heroes asked Kimillion about the fact that the hero's receptionist had answered him, and found out that as a whole 100 million, the outsider's head was given to the outsider. The heroes realized how dangerous the team betrayed their team. Kimillion joyfully said that in the end everyone will be in the all. Since the team has become less, each profit will increase. The team members proudly said that they had already managed to decide to leave all the award of Kimillion. The team said that this is a sign of gratitude for the salvation of their the share and equipment of the outsider, who betrayed them, can leave Kimillion. The girl supplemented that if he was indifferent to money, then, not having time to finish the phrase, Kimillion said that he could spend his reward on a good matter. And still, the heroes could not come to terms with the fact that their commander was an outsider, but it seemed that he was just a good person. The archer tasks replied that there are no good people here, everyone acts for selfish purposes. The heroes discussed that all sorts of rumors are already going on, so in addition they contacted an outsider. The girl was angry with the outsider commander and said that although he was a terrible person, he had good skills. The archer told her not to worry, because now they have a strong warrior who demolished his head to an outsider with one blow. Kimillion understood that the work in the team was very useful, that their responsibility was so burdened, and for some reason there is a feeling that they would surely draw Kim Il-yeon into any troubles. The girl thought that Kim Il-yeon could throw them, even after they generously lost his Il-yeon nervously said, "How can I do that?" Thinking that friendship is friendship, and money apart. The goddess of heroes Hildegrin did not understand why Kim Il-yeon sees the negative everywhere. Kim Il-yeon was sure that all people are greedy, but he was not a mush here, where you can grab everything and escape. Kim Il-yeon considered Hildegrin too stubborn and did not understand how he and the heroes would share the amount. The archer said that he would do it to everyone when he returned to the ground, and send everyone money to the Il-yeon understood that he finally had something to pay for housing. The hero asked where Kim Il-yeon would spend his 100 million. Thinking a unique hero replied that he would buy an invisibility ring. The archer doubted the decision of Kim Il-yeon to buy an invisibility ring, so he asked him if he was confident in his decision, but Kim Il-yeon was sure that the ring of invisibility would be useful to him. According to Safa members, the most important thing in the battle is to be able to escape. To be a hero means to constantly risk life, and therefore it is necessary to calculate the retreat paths, and for this you will need a ring of invisibility of Kim Il-yeon. With a formidable grin, Kim Il-yeon began to think about how he could use the ring of invisibility in the battle. "I will use invisibility, and then I will run away with the help of some rapid technology, and no one can catch it, and such a wonderful ring will come in handy in theft." Ursley reminded the hours of communication with the heroes of the noticeable Kim Il-yeon that he was the future great hero, and he cannot even think about this, especially about the low theft for heroes. Wide grin. The archer's tasks offered the unique hero of Kim Il-yeon to buy an invisibility ring right now, because it would be more convenient for them to make a calculation of the profit of the heroes. Kim Il-yeon considered the idea of a TSEC archer go, and asked the cost of an invisibility ring in gold coins. The archer task said that for him an invisibility ring will go into 7 gold coins, which was quite expensive for the surprised Kim Il-yeon. Kim Il-yeon recalled that even the commander outsider said that it costs about 60 to 70 million. Why did Kim Il-yeon understand the price of the price? And asked for a discount for a member of a group of heroes. With a smile, the archer's task said that the calculations should be accurate so that there are no unnecessary questions. Kim Il-yeon continued to convince Taesuk Archer to throw off the price of up to 6, because they fought together, even seemed to be close. The archer test still set the price on the invisibility of 7 gold coins, but Kim Il-yeon insisted at least 6.5 gold coins to save at least something. Kim Il-yeon already understood that he was talking with a parrot, and Taesuk's archer was so stubborn that he did not throw off the price absolutely in any way. Suddenly, Kim Il-yeon grabbed the attack, thereby scaring the archer TSSOK, who always worried about his team. Kim Il-yeon said that this is a consequence of the adoption of the poison. He was not immediately naked. He went into a mortal fight with the head of the team, who turned out to be an outsider, and won. The archer Tesku remembered that Kim Il-yeon does not have mana at all, and the action of the poison does not apply to him. Kim Il-yeon continued to insist on his own. After so many failures, trying to convince Taesuk's archer, Kim Il-yeon began to put pressure on Pity. They say he saved their life, but they cannot even make a discount. The confused archer Tasks politely asked Kim Il-yeon to stop asking for all other heroes and so unflattering about the team of aggravate the situation. From the archer Taesuk began to drip sweat, and he began to understand how hard it is to be the commander of his team. Kim Il-yeon checked the window of his characteristics and noticed that after the murder of the outsider commander, his indicators grew up. It is very cruel that even after the murder of their own characteristics, the characteristics are still growing. Kim Il-yeon swallowed two magic drugs that he received after completing the alien noted that the characteristics of the internal energy did not really grow, but still became 2 units higher. Kim Il-yeon put on an invisibility ring and saw that his strength grew by only 1 unit. But he did not buy a ring for this. Kim Il-yeon thought about how good his technique of pleasure will be if you add invisibility from this ring to it. The archer's Taisk interrupted the dreams of Kim Il-yeon, asking what he wants to spend the remaining earned gold. Kim Il-yeon began to realize that the hero's income was quite good, and was going to invest his gold. Archers TPC advised to save gold, since their income is unstable. The archer Tesku advised Kim Il-yeon to buy equipment picked up in Panga. It recommends a forge nearby, where the master copes with steel perfectly. The archer's tyke also promised to send the first calculation today. Kim Il-yeon was delighted with the news and was going to enjoy a warm chicken in the archer's tasks. Said goodbye to Kim Il-yeon, saying that tomorrow it would gather in the Guild of Heroes, to which Kim Il-yeon thought that he would come only if he wanted. Archer recalled that the second part of Kim Il-yeon's money is still with him, so it is better to do without meanness. Kim Il-yeon went to the blacksmith, who, at the sight of the hero, said that he had not seen earthly equipment for a long time, and added that he could choose what he was in his heart. The choice of Kim Il-yeon stopped in a rare sword, similar to the one that can be found in. Il-yeon asked if this sword was a blacksmith or someone else, to which the blacksmith replied that he simply bought this sword from someone, and it seems to customers some kind of not you like, you can take, added a blacksmith. The blacksmith said that he liked this. Il-yeon asked the blacksmith the price of this sword. Oh, throw off the price, and he managed to throw off to 3 gold. But the hero did not give up and wanted to throw off to 2 gold, saying that this sword would rust up rather than someone would buy it. The blacksmith stopped Il-yeon's trade, saying that at least this sword is not popular. He is still rare. In this case, Kim Il-yeon asked for repairs and equipment from above, to which the blacksmith agreed, saying that it would be easier for him to be easier. Kim Il-yeon noticed that you can't say it in appearance, but this sword is definitely made of good materials with the hands of a skilled master, which is ideal for the hero. The blacksmith could not understand why Kim Il-yeon loves such weapons, and that he generally has strange tastes. The blacksmith took the sword for processing, and promised that tomorrow he would be as new. The next day, Kim Il-yeon with great expectations returned to the shop. To the blacksmith extended the prepared sword of Kim Il-yeon, which greatly pleased him. The blacksmith added that the sword had no scabbard, so he made temporary specifically for him. Kim Il-yeon asked the price that he should pay for the scabbard, and was very surprised that they were free. For I thought why the blacksmith was not so much interested in money. A joke sounded from the blacksmith that he seemed to marry his own Kim Il-yeon. An absurd answer sounded about whether he could now call the blacksmith test him. Interrupting their conversation, the sound of the bell. Blacksmith told Kim Il-yeon that someone was trying to capture a big, beautiful castle on the background of the pink-purple sky. Near the throne stands a young lad, a clerk in a blue outfit, with beautiful white hair. The head of the Fisher Risers. What did you just say? Said Lita. Very news seems to have shocked it. Lady, we failed to stop the wave of monsters. The heroes of D and E rank went to the attack, said the head of Rickers Fisher to Letter, dressed in signed cherry armor with a cloak on his back. That their fiends suffered great die, and surviving should retreat, said the head of the Rickarians. And how is it possible? Why, I don't think it's just a looks more like a plan. We're waiting for us, Fisher said. And if you believe the information, they still have bales with they prepare for the storm of the fortress, Lady said. Is someone planning to capture a Lidl? Lady said. Was also reported that these monsters march slim rows, as if real. They resemble dried corpses outside, said Fisher. Lord, so there is a high-level spell among enemies, Lady. Yes, we assume, Fisher. There are so many worries from monsters only, and there is also evil here, Lady thought. Immortal army that does not know the defeat, Lady thought. Drying corpses with bright green eyes and full mouth of sharp teeth. The uncleanness appear in the imagination. If you do not stop it, what happens to Illidil, who protected several generations of my family with such diligence? Lady thought. The whole city will be absorbed by a fire, chaos and death. A terrible picture, imagined Lady. Imagine that her people could expect, and her city became very sad. We were preparing for the usual wave of monsters, Lady thought. A Boretsky. You, by chance, have no ideas? Lady turned to the butler standing. Proceed, such a phrase skeptical, broken old man, Fisher thought, casting his gaze on the butler stood, crossing his hands, dressed in classic clothes, with well-groomed hair, beard and mustache. He made a pleasant impression. Lady, can some old man understand the strategy? Quite rightly, said the butler. And there are no news from friendly clans yet? Lydia was asked hopefully. New. Other lords now also expressed the attack, so they will not be able to help instantly, said the Noretsky, thinking. Why did you stutter in front of everyone? Not for the sake of support, Lady said. Of course. But, said Butretsky. Now everyone for themselves. Contact them immediately and tell them that Elidel wants him to be paid for his kindness. Lady said, in a confident pose. I will try. Do what you want, but make them cooperate, cried ladies. Otherwise, I will have to doubt your abilities. The chief, you understand what that means, Lady said, looking threateningly at the butter. Yes, said stood humbly lowering his head, thinking about what to do next. The soul rejoices, Fisher thought. Looking at the Bagretsky, heroes are just mercenaries who work for money. Fisher his imagination. Images of mercenaries dressed in different clothing, different bodies and coats of arms of clans were eat. The clans were simply offered the amount more, so they will not rush with. If you think about what means go to their absorbed into reflections. Lady, I offered you, said Fisher strongly. It was necessary to spend their resources in defense of Alidel and the preparation of soldiers. Fisher continued, and I thought with anger of a nozzle, clenching his teeth and looking closely at Fisher. A good remark, the head of the rags, but now is not the time for many military forces are left in the reserve, said Lita, turning to Fisher and raising her right hand. She stood in a decisive pose as if it were time to act, and every minute on the account. About 100 can mobilize, then another 400 healthy bows will be gathered. There are heroes who did not participate in the battle with the wave of monsters. Fisher replied, how difficult will the characters respond to our lawsuit? Lady said thoughtfully, plunging into her thoughts. Lady probably does not know that all these people have not been able to get an invitation to the castle. Fisher Butler stood thoughtfully. Since the chief Butterfish just kicked them, he thought that heroes who did not enter the clan were not worthy of communicating with Lady. He came up with a good excuse for his lowness. Continued to think Fisher, looking at the butter. It is unlikely that they will agree, Fisher said, thinking that unlike the clans, Alidel gave them nothing. Hot. First, close the gate as soon as possible. I take dissatisfaction with persuade them. Whatever it we will have to spend all our savings, Lady Fisher ordered. Listen to, Fisher said, putting his right hand to the heart as a sign of allegiance. Taverna on the background of pink, evening sky. What? The monsters broke into Alidel, and what became with the heroes who went to suppress the attack? Various voices from the tavern come. A loud blow to the table with a loud blow. Quietly silence a little. I will make such an offer now that you are pumping, said a man with white mohawk on his head and clothing that looks like a mercenary. The shopping center. We have already sifted in which the situation. If you do not have a truly costly solution, then it's better not to start, said the man with a scar on his face. A man with white Iroquois put his hands and said with a serious expression, Croche, you are already aware that many left attempts will not lead to anything good. After dripping his eyebrows, he continued, and all because there is a problem of invasion now. True. In the areas helped by high rank classes, the situation is a little different, he thought. In addition, it is rumored that the monsters of the rank C continued to speak. A man with white Iroquois. What? And in other places. See rang. It looks like this news has been quite embarrassed and frightened by two men sitting at one table. But we all have relatively calm, and so I want to offer you something. A man with white Iroquois continued to speak to the crowd in tavern. Then, with the frozen eyebrows and the insidious smile, he showed two fingers and said to Gold, I will give them just for agreeing to go with me in battle. Taking his chin and thinking, he said, and to those who will break to the end, then I will add 2 more gold. He head of the spell. Yes, the case is that his personality is unknown. Hence the nose. It seems that the speech of a man with white Iroquois has made a lively discussion among the crowd in Taverna. Maybe my head will take my head, the guy thought, in black dress and unbearable hair from the crowd. Well, yes, probably they're serious. How to punch him? Someone in the crowd. Newcomer, and how do you do? Turned to the boy in a black girl in top and bandages on her stomach. How to know ... Thanks to the recent unexpected reward of money. I have no money, he replied. What? The girl shouted in a. Armed mercenaries were alerted to her, hearing his application. Hey, isn't it better to work as long as possible? You have gone, of course, she continued. After such words, the guy was discontinuing. He did not know Zoan, covered with sweat. Words of the girl were not like MDA expected, he thought. Immediately 20, he is given only for 1 fighting. Give up. His girl continued to guy began not to joke. He squeezed his teeth so as not to sprinkle his dissatisfaction. MDA expected, he thought. In the end, he smiled and said, I think everything will not be so the way. They do not have enough money for investment. And what happened to the clans that are so excited here? Continued the guy, smiling ironically. That's about that. I suggest joining them temporarily and then dump. The girl answered him no less. But what to do if Alidel falls? The girl began to think of a serious voice and expression. Not everyone gets to their possessions of the Iran heroes, she continued. Maybe it could become a problem on the Paradise Peninsula, but not here. Spread out Shi's hands, smiled cunningly. Still, there is a way to get her out of balance, he thought. And of guy appears a blue holographic screen with a new turn of events caught the boat by. Assignment appears. Smiling, the guy watches that new details have appeared on the task named at average. Information where can the hero show himself? Of course, it battle progress destruction of the lounge 01 units reward for execution. Blue holographic screen that says the following. Task named at average. He hero show himself. Of course, it battle progress destruction of the Bayer 01 units for the performance experience. Points 325. Millennial Mountaineers 1 unit. Boasting of the hero 10 minutes. The message on the screen was quite surprised by the looks, like even shocked. Highlands. In the imagination of the guy appears a plant with large roots and a small number of stems with leaves on the top. A plant that emits light, the same that grows in the mountains, filled with wonderful energy, and for millennia absorbs the forces of nature. Thoughtfully thought the guy. Fully favorable agreement, Hildenrin. The guy and interested eyes showed great interest and excitement, which the boat took place. That the complexities with dark orcs are evaluated as light, but I almost died there. In the imagination of the boy, scenes floated from the previous task and battle with the orcs, where he gave rise to doubts about the guy's mind. And here the protection of the fortress from monsters. The guy imagined hundreds of horrible creatures with red-black dead eyes that looked directly at him, opening his mouth full of teeth. Although everything is honest, the higher the risk, the more the reward. The guy began to think and weigh everyone for and against. Blue shimmering on the bracelet, and it is unknown where the female voice came from. The buzz. Reflection. What do you think about the goddess of heroes? Yes, wait, I think the guy is annoyed. Already made a decision. The heroes are on the battlefield, so that the risk will have to be risked. I think that a real hero. Arch again her reflection. The guy became angry anymore. Wait, but the guy looked at the ring. And I don't need to destroy thousands of monsters and win in the war. Taking his hand behind his head, he said with a mad look. It is decided. From the side he looked like a real crazy, and therefore the mercenaries who stood glowing with him were interested in his condition. Hey, what did you go crazy? You talk to yourself. Maybe, he says with the patron. Raising his right hand high, the guy said loudly, our group will take part in the battle, which surprised the mercenaries. Hey, are you doing? Said the girl. Oh, already changed your mind. They just so carefully persuaded me, the guy said with a decisive look. Fist. He continued the speech to the mercenaries. City and its inhabitants in danger, and we, heroes, are quietly sitting. The mind is incomprehensible. Agree. The mercenaries near him were embarrassed. True. Oh, accurately agreed with the words of the other, more decisive mercenaries. Toruto, let's take part forward. The guy's words were interested, mounted and raised by other mercenaries. Hey, when did it become a fighter for justice? The girl asked, and members of the team also looked at the guy as well, or suspicious. What are you about? Isn't there a person more selfless in the world than I am? The guy asked. The voice of the goddess of heroes, HMM, you will say too. The guy walked his finger in his nose and proved the truth of the words to the goddess with all his species. Hot. Sympathy in our society is unpopular, the guy thought. After such statements, team members began to think about what to do next. We will have to take part? Asked the other team members. Thought out silently, casting a look at the guy who walked in his nose sarcastically. The girl, well, we will probably not die with him. Son Penem. The voice of the crowd attracted the attention of the guy. They immediately recognized you. You could agree to such an adventure. The red-haired girl turned to Henem. You are the only one who will not turn away in a difficult moment, said the people appeared, and the woman is slender, with red hair, black pants and a red cloak. The man is tall, broad-shouldered, in armor with blue, gold, gray and black in armor and gray cloak. Triple people are getting bigger, Henem thought. Why do you go together? The guy turned to two newcomers. The warrior smiled wide, hit himself with his fist in his chest and proudly said, I am now part of a reliable family of Hong. A bright red coat of arms of the Hong family was visible on the blue bib. I could not lure you, son, but I could not miss the warrior of the avant-garde, the girl said, pointing to the stood proudly with his hands on his belt, and smiled wide. The coat of arms flashed on his chest. He was not already bought on the magic of Han Grazen, Son thought. Chan Kon smiles soap, putting his hands on his neck, and says, you say that you would participate in the battle. You have neither guilds nor a group. Can you go with us? Kankanen continued. A strong and reputable Hong family is caught about you, they said together. Pose a glitter of each other. It seems that they consider me a full loser who has no friends, and what is disgusting, that they are right in some way. With sadness such a conclusion was thought. Skulls emphasized his big hands and said, Hanamai, Kanpekal, cover your rear, I will be as reliable as usual. Why did he become so active? What did she do with him? He thought in a blowful Hanam. You just look, are you going to take someone? He already has a group that was caught about him, so we visited the edge of death. So that's not even open your mouth, said the girl, smiling ironically. What is she at all? Thought Hanam. Son, are you familiar? We anger, said Kangravine. Newcomer, who are they? The girl said with girls looked irritatedly at Son, who felt awkward. The meeting of two arrogant girls only doubles their annoyance, he thought. We are allies of Son, who shared grief and joy with him, said Chon Javan. And we are his comrades who, along with him, escaped from the paws of death, said the girl. What other comrades? Said Chon. Was such a strong altercation between the girls that they seemed to be red and blue. Don't insult the future member of my clan, Chon Kain shouted. What clan? And who said it? The girl answered her. I said no one is like Han. Von Son has almost agreed, so everything is solved, Chon Kan said, seemed between their eyes beating lightning. Who are you about at all? The girl shouted. What are stubborn thoughts on, who stood in the background and which this quarrel had tired. He nice when girls quarrel for you. The goddess of heroes asked Son. They do not fight for a loved one, but for a talented accomplice. I like it, Son answered mentally. Take the hero adorns modesty, so be restrained, said the goddess. What was the question then? Son thought. Son, so with whom will you stay with? Asked Hong Hun. New, are you with us? True, asked the girl. Girls looked closely at Henam, waiting for his answer. Henam, I still clearly remember your battle call in the Dungeon of Proof, please. Let's go with us. Kanspakal broke into the conversation loudly, showing his fist. How uncomfortable, and why it seems to me that with every replica, his hair is getting smaller and smaller, he thought awkwardly. Mr. Ilian, don't you throw us, she said shy to some girl with black blonde hair. Well, any of my solution will be perceived in the bayonets, Son thought. I can't choose, only one need to combine efforts to save us. Go together, Son said, extending his hand to the sign of consent. Perfectly. I was very cool, I thought myself. Son knew which option you would choose, and still the ass on the body ran. Cute, said Chon Kyan. Damn. Why you continue to behave like that? The girl asked. Work together, the team members shook. If we have already dealt with this, let's go for a minute, said Han Hoduan and took Som's hand. And where? Son asked in a blowful one. You will understand, in the city in love, said Chon Kyan. How tired, Son thought. The castle is on the background of the night. Windows are bright light. The spacious carpets are spread on the hall. On the edges of the carpets are concrete vases in which the fire burns. From the high ceiling hang long, red flags with yellow arms in the form of a sword on Arsan Penam Man Chan Guanan. On the hall, everything was closer in the hall of the castle. Red curtains were visible. Something attracted the attention of Son. The column hung a beautiful, shiny portrait of a butter. Under the walls there was a beautiful gray armor, with closed helmets and halberds. They were all the same size and growth. Lord Castle is a completely different level, Son thought in amazement. Son, here, said Chon Kyan, opening a high gate with a gold ornament. Son Ban Chan Guanan entered. The royal was even more spacious than the previous. Tall ceiling formed the arch, high, a large, golden coat of arms above the gate. Miss Hong Gravine, did you come with a response from Hong family? If your brother, a sword wizard, will help us, said Bagretsky to Kangravine. Lady Oriano, I apologize, it didn't work, said Han Hun. He is like. Lady answered upset. Yes, is she, Lord? Chan Kangon thought thoughtfully and at the same time. But I managed to find a special detachment of the best warrior in a little, said Chan Kan, and stood on the side shocked, because he did not expect such a turn of events. Son observes an awkward the words of Chan Gravine. Everyone who was in the hall, namely mercenaries from the team, laid it on the throne and butler. Is it? Said Lady, looking at Son. The words of Han Gran were not surprised at a joke. Lady cannot be taken to a special detachment, the nobleman said, his finger on Son, who stood in his thoughts. Ah, this is the same butler who met us at the exit from the gate. Son thought. And why? Lady said. Lady Chan Grazen lies to you, continued the butterfly. What? What did you take? Kankonen answered suspiciously. She calls him the strongest in Illy Delhi, but he really doesn't even have a clan. And he arrived from the ground just a few days ago. MTA. I'm shocked, I thought, understanding in what any situation he found himself. Here are not the merits from the past place of work, Son thought. He is right. I have not appeared in Tangia for a long time, thought Son, and remembered himself in the grey kimono with katana against the background of defeated enemies. Well, the word, Mrs. Han Gravine, said the butter. Son Ban indeed here is a beginner, said Chan Khan. Here listen. Lad, I do not know why she brought her friend, but he needs to be expelled immediately. Nervously turned to Lido Bagretsky, pointing his finger on Han Quain. Lady, Han Gravine, why do you want us to take it in a special detachment? Lady said. Lady, I told you about a person who saved my life, said Chan Javin. Is it? Lady answered. So, is the one who immediately after the awakening dealt with the monsters of the rank Fan cut into pieces of dark orcs, Lady said with great words like Chan Gravine looked. Yes, that's how she described me. Son thought no less in light. And Son, the one who returned, like crawled on the dirty day of the other world for 7 years. So he had a lot of combat experience. Cancun continued to describe Son vividly. Please, enough, Son thought. Crawled on the bottom. Yes, no, Son thought annoy. Cannot be. Why was he still unable to join the clan? Nervously, Anger said with anger, taking his teeth and a fist. He does not like the organization. He likes to act alone. Hong Quain answered calmly, crossing his hands. No, that, he continued to know the but. Lady Oriana, happy to meet, Son said modestly, leaning forward. Lifting his head, he continued with a smile, whatever they say, but I, Kim Il-sung, will enter a special detachment. I didn't see you at a welcoming party. Maybe something with memory, said Lady. Were many people in the hall? Chan Grazin looked with a smile at a butterfold, who just bowled emotions. Lady, I did not conclude a contract with the clan because I was not invited to the reception, Son said. Lady bored her eyebrows and said the butterfly. It seems, I will need explanations. What does he talk about? If I am not mistaken, communicating with the newcomers and trusted you. She didn't know, Son thought. Lady, you understand that heroes who have not been able to enter the clan are simply not a balance. We cannot spend resources of our lands on them. In a humble tone, a nobleman said. I gave you to invite heroes and take care of them, not to choose worthy, Lady said. Lady, I just wanted to ease your position. For what are you? My dedication. Lady, how can you? Said the butter to the lad. Quietly, do you think I do not know about all the rumors going on the castle? According to rumors, you thought of playing Lord using my authority, shouted Ladies for anger. Lord, everything is not so. Fish was behind him. I didn't want to believe the last. I hoped that it was all nonsense, but now it is clear that I was in vain. I justified you. Lady continued to speak angrily. The butter, understanding in what disadvantageous position he was, stood quietly and looked into the floor. Resources for them have regretted. It is sad that the money spent on them not go into your pocket, isn't it? Lady continued to speak threateningly, pointing her finger on the butler. How many more did you go to swear me? 10 years, or maybe for the rest of your life, Lady said. I'm 16, I'm no longer a child. To Chief Butterfly, Lady said calmly, looking at the floor. Thank you for the guidance and study, but you will not need it anymore, said sadly. Lady, you didn't understand everything. Give me a chance and I'll explain. Don't. I don't want to see you. Knight Fisher, Lady said. Yes, lad, answered Fisher. Remove his titles and property and drive. Give him silver so that he does not. He performed his duties skillfully. Lady ordered. I obey your order, Fisher said. How is it possible, Lady? It's me, Odella Waterman. I took care of you when you were still kids. Said guards approached him. Ha, said Fisher, contemplating the latest attempts by the butterfly to return the mercy of Lady. Knights, remove this old man immediately, said Fisher as a guard. Yes, said the guards. Lady shouted a butter. You can't do so, Lady, he continued to shout the butter, approaching the door. Ha, said Lady. What a stupid performance, Son thought. Chan Guanan wasted with the eye of Son. Yes, everything is adjusted. Lady came off the throne. Lady approached Chan Khan and Son Ban said you didn't have to see it. Han Gravine and Son were surprised. Chan Honan hugged Ladies and said, Lady, do not be greeted. I understand. It hurts that the traitors need to get rid of when the life of the whole city is at stake. In addition, the removal of pests brings relief. Kankanen continued. Han Honan is not just terrible. I have answers from her. I thought. Chan Hanan took a lad and said, well, if they deal with it, I suggest to return to the rescue of the city. Now, enemies are approaching Da Lido. Lady said. They both smiled and looked into each other's them. The air seemed closer. Fisher managed to find out where the burst is, said ladies. I apologize, but all the monsters look exactly the same, so we take some more time. However, in the report of one of the surviving it was said that some surprising were noticed among the invaders. Fisher replied. Someone who stands out? Asked the lads excitedly. Yes, he has a stone on his forehead, and in his eyes a yellow shine. Fisher replied. Probably this is the one we are looking for. I have already seen how similar monster managed the unclean. Son Kim said with a smile. Kim Ilian's hero, you said that only recently came to Pangeo. Lady said, and I was lucky to meet him and was also an outsider. I had to deal with him. Kim replied. Wait it. Yes, everything is. Kim answered smiling. Son, what else did you manage to do in such a short time? Chonkan whispered. Do you match you? I am only surprised that you got to make friends with a lad in a day, said Kima bored. Kim Ilian's hero. It turns out, we can define a monster with a mana stones as a cursor. Lady asked. Sure. Kim replied. Good. Then it is worth discussing how to get to him and defeat him. Lady said. I have a way. Kim said. Indeed, son. Kim's words were shocked by Chan Gravine and Lady. Raising his hand, putting his finger with the ring and smiling cunning, Kim said a rare ring with the effect of invisibility. With his help, I will confuse to the spell and destroy it with one blow, Kim said. Said ladies. H was tormented by doubts. Therefore, the participation of a special detachment is required. Lady said. As soon as I manage to kill the curtain, you should come to my. You are late. I will die, said Kim. 10 minutes, I can hold so much, Kim said confidently. But why do you sacrifice for the sake of a Lido? Because of the main butler. You were not even allowed to visit the castle. You were humiliated and ignored. And do you still help us? Said ladies. Lowered her look down. Although you know that your life is at stake. Lady looked confidently. Why? Because of the task. Of as a millennial mountaineer, he thought with delight. You see? Ladies, everything is the way I said Chongonan with her smile, pointing her hand on Kim. And what did she tell her? Thought she. You were right, Mrs. Hongraving. He is really unique, said Lady excitedly. In general, the more warriors will be in the rows of a special detachment, the higher my chances of surviving. Therefore, I would like to pose you several heroes, said Kim. Kim's words lifted the mood of Lady Ant. She said smiling, of course. I will be glad to greet everyone you will invite. Did they call me an integral part of the group? You will have to be responsible for your words. A smiling with a treacherous expression, thought Kim. Taverna on the background of the dark blue night sky. What? Out loud from there. Did you advise us as soldiers for a special detachment? A mercenary with a bow and black armor asked, scared. Yes, Kim replied. I can go crazy, but you are definitely not in yourself, cried the girl, shaking Kim. Again this girl. Kim thought. 5. Kim said, showing his palm. Someone asked. 5 much pay for those who will enter a special detachment, and there will be an additional reward for feats on the battlefield. Do you still take part in the battle? So maybe it is better to get 5 gold for it? Kim said cunningly, holding his hand in the air. Yes, it is so, said the girl speaker. In addition, all the difficulties will get to me, said Kim. And what it means? Asked the speaker. Mercenaries thought about Kim's proposal. Kim lifted his finger with a shiny ring and said, with the help of the invisibility ring, I am going to escape from the monsters and then cut the throat of the spell. Hey, Nu, why are you going for it? You did not owe anything to Ilian. Why did you agree to such a dangerous work? Asked the girl in a red cape restlessly. Kim corrected his hair and proudly said, because no one but me will handle. You need to deal with the monsters who join the unclean and save me. Well, as quite simple, isn't it? Kim said proudly. I want to try a potion from a millennial mountaineer, he thought seductively. Probably not bad. 5 gold. A group of mercenaries tormented doubts. Kim put his hands, smiled proudly and said, well, now you can thank me. The mercenaries looked at him. Well, smiling cunningly, said the speaker girl. So, our task is to save you, said the Ark. Yes. My life is in your hands. As soon as the uncleanness begins to retreat, immediately rush to me, Kim replied. Honestly, I would like to look at how you shit, but with an additional reward you will have to try, said the arc. Here's a brazen Kim thought. Still, human souls are moving, not friendship and love, but money. Kim has been funny. The bracelet of the goddess of heroes began to make sounds tc tc tc. Then see you the twilight of the northern gate of the fortress, said Kim, waved his hand and went to the door. Okay, I wish you good luck, said one of the mercenaries. I'm also time to prepare for battle, Kim thought firmly. The majestic city of beautiful houses, white castle with towers are surrounded by a white stone wall. On the clean field in front of the city, there is a huge green-violet horde of monsters in the distance. The heroes are a horde of monsters, which is rapidly approaching them. A huge horde of dark blue and black monsters, like werewolves, quickly runs to the city of Aladdin. The loud sounds of dead light green scary eyes and full teeth are the mouth. That's what heroes see in front of them. Seeing such a picture, the mercenaries covered horror and look like not knowing what to do next. In general, they can win them. They came to 2 gold. Mercenaries began to talk to each other, seeing the horde of monsters. Maybe it's not too late to escape, said one of the mercenaries. Deserting is punishable by an immediate death, the knight said, and instructing him on mercenaries who began to doubt their mercenary was. Embarrassed by such a step of the knight, their discussion was interrupted by the loud phrase, "Get ready." The mercenaries looked at the sound source. Fisher shouted that stood twilight of the archers and gave them stood strongly towards the horde. While the archers pulled the meadows, Cleo formidably and loudly shouted Fisher and archers made a volley. The whole hail of arrows overshadows the sun and flies to the horde of monsters. A bunch of arrows involves monsters who only make the sound of KAH. Many arrows were kissed by monsters. They were injured, however. Are not green eyes still look towards the city. Unclean such attacks do not win, Fisher thought. Looking at the horde, lady, we will need ... Without finishing the phrase, Fisher receives the answer from Lad aloud. Cherry fiery arrows commanded Fisher to began to prepare. Get ready. The order for the arches, which sent charged meadows to the horde of the monsters, came to the arches. Plea a team for a shot and a hail of fire arrows illuminated everything around. Fire arrows hit and light the bodies of monsters. Burn monsters with arrows and bodies still stand and make sounds. Arrow attacks only grew even more. Seems like arrows do not cause any damage to the horde. Continued to shoot the head of the knights, Fisher shouted. Arcade attacks continue, but the horde monsters are closed by shields. Under the sounds of game on monsters start the attack rapidly. Commander monsters are already storming the walls of the fortress, the knight of the Fisher said, anxiously. The head of the knights, Fisher, stands on the wall, evaluating the situation. On ropes in the form of ladders, the monster began to climb on the walls. Pour their ladders with fuel, Fisher knighted anxiously. Yes, the knight's order confirmed. Please, Fisher thought, hoping for the fuel to help stop the onset of monsters. From large barrels, knights began to pour fuel ladders of monsters. Some of them fell. The fuel attack damaged the body of monsters and looks like the strength to stay on ladders. Gaddy, how is you? Oh, trips, but do you know who you decided to attack? Said the knight with superficiality, looking at the bottom from the wall. At the same time, the knight who stood twice of him heard the sound on the wall and saw that the monster was already standing twice. Gama shouted. The monster woke. The enemy climbed on the wall, the knight shouted. Instantly after the phrase of night, monster wakulik, destroy it. We poured them fuel. How? Even the fire did not stop them, said the knights. Seeing the monsters on the wall, who had already killed many soldiers. Hold them. The warrior battles have already begun on the walls. Die phrases that emerged on the warriors of Aladdin resisted the monsters of the horde. Lady, it becomes dangerous. Is better for you to hide inside the fortress. I will take the command. And you need, said Fisher Lida, the head of the knights. There is no point in this. If the outer wall falls, then the inside does not last long, said Fisher Lida. Oh, what will the soldiers think about and the heroes see how their ladies run away? Fisher thought. Here are some generations. My family is protecting our fortress, so I need to divide the fate of Aladdin, lady said. Good, said Fisher. But in any case, do not leave me, Fisher said, and getting ready for battle. Fine, not, lady answered. Fisher entered the battle, protecting the ladies. Kinilian's hero, where are you? But the merciful goddess mother will bless you. Ladies thought at the battlefield that covered the fiery arrows. The horde of monsters is absorbed by black smoke from fuel and fire arrows. The monsters continued to shout GRRR. The battlefield continues to be fired. By the battlefield you can see the hero Kim. The arrows fall twice of Kim's feet. Oh, and hot Kim thought in the midst of the battle. MTA, the past is mentioned. Kim thought, smiling. Kim recalls the past. In Morim, the life of the wanderer no meaning, and this is true. Because the employer is a good death of the performer no one has to pay. We had to save their skin, making their way through the defend themselves without understanding where the enemies and where the allies. Remembers Kim, but fiery arrows are something new. He thought during shelling. It is clear that they are not targeting me. Kim thought, seeing the arrows piercing the bodies of monsters. I hid too well, Kim thought. Because using the magic of the ring and invisible, pull out a swallowing battle between people and monsters continued on the walls. Most likely, there should be a puppet somewhere, Kim thought, looking for him throughout the battlefield. Kima holographic screen shows that the invisibility action will end in 1 minute 58 seconds. He justifies his price in 6 gold, Kim thought, although the hero would have already spent all 3 minutes without combat experience. He continued to think. Monsters do not interfere with Kimo looking for a puppet. Too much the review, Kim thought, looking at the nasty horde of disgusting monsters. Where is he? Kim horde was so great that it was not visible. Kurik Utah from nowhere, a familiar shout, Kim thought. Kim saw the lord who managed the monsters and shouted Kurik rebellion Kurik the riot. Found Kim smiled cunningly. Under the screams Garak Hanka, the horde continues the attack on the city. Forward we push, then the warriors shouted at the battlefield, fighting with a huge horde. The height of the battle, but who wins to speak is very horde continues the offensive. Ah you, scum, we will defeat you, one of the soldiers shouted and continued the fight. Monsters are rapidly attacking. There is no end to this Gatum, one of the warriors said, beating another wolf. Blush lift up a vanguard destroy we lose the grip, the warriors shouted during a fight. Kim's hero continues to run to the puppet loop. We continue, one of the soldiers shouted. Well, where are you? The curtain, Kim thought, running around the battlefield. With a decisive look, Kim ran to the sound of Garoyurak rebellion. Kurik rebellion, Kim's familiar words heard. Omemina barracks continued to shout, the bear with a staff that emitted the green energy that controlled the horde of the monsters. And here he, Kim thought, and rushed in his direction. And this time the curtain is not a gnome, but an orcon witch. Interestingly, do they become the speakers? Kim saw a green orca with a magical staff fan in a white mantle. Although what is the case to me? I just finish it, Kim thought, taking his sword. The distance to him, about 20 steps, continued to think Kim. Fout. In this case, Kim thought, holding the sword in his hand. The 7-star walk magic with purple mania was activated. There are 10 steps 5, Kim thought. How does it be at a millennial mountainous will be my. Hildegren continued to think Kim. He swung on the spell Orca Kim, already dreaming of how he will receive the reward. However, something went wrong. Orc laughing his palm in front of him, and from there the rhymal flow of green man. What? Said the godfather, not understanding what happened. The orc lounge with the help of his magic lifted Kim in the air. Kim could not move, only with anger looked at his enemy, clenching his teeth. The orc clowner just smiled eagerly. Looking at Kim's efforts to do something, Kim got into the magic of the cursor and can do nothing about it. Squeezing his teeth, he considers how it could happen and what to do next. The bald orc lad continued to manipulate magic. He lowered the exhausted Kim to the ground. Oh, you are stinking, what is the technique? Kim said, in a weak voice. Damn fantasy, Kim thought, lying on the ground. The orc of the lounge again sent a magical staff with a skull at the end of Kim in order to take control over it again. Kim said to his feet, and holding his end purple are flying around it. An unknown dark voice began to speak to Kim Chuaman. Kim's skin and eyes change. Drink meat with blood. Kill. Eat continued, his ass skin continued to deform. It's a transformation technique. You need to take your hands immediately. Kima skin on the arm was covered with cracks. To break bones. To taste the viscera, a dark voice continued. 2 eyes became completely white and the skin on the face was covered with cracks. Grr. Warm human whispered through his face has changed, almost hair and individual features resembled Kima. Grr. Shoo. What? Said was transformed into a eyes were like 2 flashlights that glow through the darkness of the whole body has changed. Only armor and hairstyle resembled Kima. Koea. is the last thing the warrior said before he killed his monster. Fierce battles monsters are not set to retreat. Lady defenders on the south side do not withstand the pressure of the unclean, said the knight to lad. There are still locals who have not had time to hide. I understand that it is not easy, but you need to hold on to every effort, Lady answered. Lady, the arrows were over, said the warrior before he hit the enemy spear. Fisher continues to reflect with the horde of monsters. Suddenly, in the direction of Lita ran out a monster with a few meters between saw him. Damn, Fisher thought, also saw that in the direction of Lady the armed monster runs. With one mighty blow, Fisher cut off the monster's head, thus saving ladies from danger. Lady high inside Fisher shouted to her. Fisher, how do we do now? Lady Fisher shouted to her, keeping in mind that she would hide in the fortress. Run rather, said Fisher to Lita. We are already on the verge. We are no longer. He thought at the same moment. Lady rather and sigh. Fisher continued to shout, fighting in parallel. Lady was silent and watched a picture of the battle. Lady Fisher addressed did not understand why she did not answer him, and does not even leave the battlefield. He cast a concerned look at her. Lady stared at the was tormented by doubts. Q Fisher was embarrassed by the sound monsters were rapidly approaching Fisher. The powerful blow of the sword Fisher struck there were many more. A large crowd of monsters was approaching Fisher, who looked at them. A crowd of armed monsters approached Fisher with shouts. Fisher's wicked powerlessly, and he did not intend to give up. The monsters began to be pressed on Fisher's tired battle, but he clenched his teeth withstanding the pressure. Lady Fisher did not see the full picture of what happened, because a huge pile of monsters climbed on. The monster was approaching the fixed lad. Fisher realized that without his help, Lady would suffer or perish with his forces. He rejected all the monsters from dagger was stuck in his left shoulder. The monsters were scattered in different directions. The sweat drops drained from Fisher's azor. He impressed the monsters on by his teeth. He continued his struggle as he understood that he had no other way out. He destroyed the monsters who only fell in farmed. After reflecting the pressure of the monsters, Fisher approached the lad. Lady, come in yourself, Fisher said to her, taking her shoulders. Perhaps Kim Il-sung's hero is already died somewhere in battle. Lady flowed across her had a upset. Looked like a victory in this battle. The monsters attack battlefield was monsters were carving on ladders on the knights watered them with fire from huge barrels. Grandpa, father, excuse me, said lads mentally. Everything was burning. Battlefield was littered with black smoke was rising into the sky. It looks like I will not be able to protect Elidel. She continued to think of ladies, watching the picture of the sediment of the city. Green, purple and black magic flew around Stowe in an insignificant soar, in his white eyes glowed from a dark face. He was a wheezing to wheeze surrounded by the magic of Tadet. Eyes looked skin has crackled, and teeth became nothing like human. The sudden blue glow covered the Kims was illuminated with energy similar to the one emitted by the goddess of the heroes. Activated mirror surface of water. There was an inscription on a holographic. Blue equipment was activated. The sudden blue glow covered the enemies around Kim. The huge flow of blue energy came out of Kim. Curled up, the strong energy dazzle began to close his face. The flow of blue energy was overtaken by Kim, who stood motionless. Kim's face began to acquire human accounting. Kim came to previous appearance, returned to him. I'm alive, Kim thought, not fully understanding what happened to spoke on his face. Activated mirror surface, that's why this effect. Kim thought. How did you manage to resist my technique? Man, said the orc of the bishop, taking up his black eyes. Not your business, you have learned what I was nearby. Kim smiled cunningly. The smell of food. It feels immediately. Smiled insidiously the orc of the lounge. He is like, so you are a sniff. That's the matter. Kim understood. I think the next method should work, Kim thought, smiling. Get, said Kim loudly and put a sword in front of his face. The bright yellow light covered the handle of the light plunged from the ring. The orc shouted, covering his face with a bright yellow light. The bright light plunged into monsters. Kira shouted. The bright light operated on them. Activated bright flash. It remains for times. There was an inscription on the blue holographic screen. The day before, night homes burns light. Kim walked through the night city. Hey, beginner, wait, shouted to him a dark figure behind him, which was rapidly approaching him. Can you in a few words, said the girl speakers to Kim. Kim Daejeon, Kim Il-sung thought. I listen, Kim said. Felt awkward. What? Kim said, laying her hands on his chest and looked at the girl with his eyebrows. Well, in general, such a matter. The girl speakers continued to speak, wounding the curl of hair on her finger. Do you really want to break into the heart of the battle to finish the spell? Dare you can really die, said the speaker girl. I decided that I was ready for such danger, said Kim. All for the sake of the millennial mountaineer, he thought, in parallel. Do you know that you are very strange, said the speaker girl. Yes, I know well. It is not necessary to repeat me again, Kim replied. Oh. Remember my promise, the girl speaker continued. What? Said Kim, scratching her head in trying to remember her promise. Not so long ago. I said that I will save you from death, the speech girl replied. Ah, it was a matter. Kim mentioned. Here, said the girl and extended her hand where the magical ring was lying from which blue energy emerged. Is it? Kim thought. A rare artifact that has like magic. Did you still stole it? Kim said, in a blowful and at the same time enthusiastically. Oh, damn it. It got it, he thought, looking at the ring in the girl's hand. Shut up, there was nothing to put my life in danger. I think the fair price, said the girl strictly, griming the fist. Kim put a magical ring on his. Bright energy emerged from the ring. And you are talented, Taft. Kim Alien thought enthusiastically. The bright yellow light was badly blinded by the folder, Kyle the orc shouted, trying to close his hand with a stand from the light. Bright magical light plunged into a horde of has a negative effect on monsters. The warrior defeated the monster's magical light. The great effect, the warrior thought. That's what a rare artifact means, Kim Alien thought. The magical light was severely damaged by the eyes of the stood by opening his mouth. Dark blood flowed from his eyes. Gurr, said the orc of pain. Can you see already? You are probably like a boss, said Kim Alien. So get again, said Kim decisively and sent his hand to the orco with a magical ring and a sword. Hearing this orc, the burst was prepared for damage. He closed his hands and staff. However, nothing light did not come. Alien looked at the ring with surprise. Time before use of 24 hours was written on a blue holographic screen. So, several times, Naru, you cannot use it, Kim Alien thought. Then just die, said Kim Alien with a threatening face expression and swung his sword into the orca. Kurik Tarak Godfather, the spell of orc magic, began to emerge from magical staff. It doesn't work on me anymore, Kim Alien shouted. Is blue energy housed? Activated mirror surface of water. There was an inscription on the blue screen. The first position is the first brilliant wind, Kim Alien said. In a battle, energy emerged from his body. Cow, shouted the orc. Group Rakha, Torka Rakha, the orc began shouting. Is he? Cuz's reinforcement, Kim Alien thought. With the sounds of Gurari to healthy orcs appear. And that, it turns out, his guards. Kim Alien thought. To the side. Cannon meet, said Kim Alien, and destroyed the orcs of the guards with one powerful blow. After the impact, Kim Alien began to look for his eyes where the orc escaped. The orc lad began to flee through a crowd of monsters. Do you think you can escape? Kim Alien thought. Kim Alien uses the 10 wine and rain frames and with a powerful force throws a dagger into the orca. Group, the orc rolled after the dagger hit him in his back. Grah. The orc rolled to the ground. Save the wounded orc. To stand, said Kim Alien. Go in with the sword to the orca. Save, said orc. I can't miss such a chance, said Kim Alien and pierced his neck. After the impact, the orca head flew away from the holographic screen. Began to appear tasks completed. Raising the level. Award, you received the nickname Hero, who won the enemy commander. The praise of the hero. The inscription appeared on the screen. Kim Alien's body appears heavy light. The same feeling, did not feel it for a long time, Kim Alien thought, smiling. The monsters shouted and split into very small particles. Similar murder of the burst has launched the process of replacement of monsters. They continued to shout, the monsters, dying. He knew it was enough to simply kill the burst, said Kim Alien smiling. And what? The warriors were monsters, began to disappear and the entire battlefield overturned. The black powder that remained from their bodies. Kim Alien was really able to get rid of him. One of the warriors asked in a blown one. Near the walls of the city, the monsters began to scatter on around, was dragged in black smoke. The spectacle, as the monsters break into powder, surprised the soldiers. What is it? Suddenly, Kim Jin asked with surprise. It looks like he's still managed, said the arcade from the detachment of the names. Well done, Alien, I believed in you. The girl in the red cape thought happily. Well, now, our turn, said a mercenary with a greatsword, smiling cunningly. Isn't it? The head of the Knights Fisher thought, seeing how the monsters are destroyed. Yura we coped. It turned out they began to shout, the warriors joyfully. Lord, the commander, have you seen? He really coped. Kim Il-yun's hero really won, the lounge lady shouted in a stoat and looked strictly towards the battlefield. Lady, send a special detachment immediately. He was probably already surrounded. Fisher addressed her. Kim Il-yun stood in the middle of the battle surrounded by a crowd of huge orcs. Grar. Orcs approached Kim Il-yun with a loud gun. How many of them remained? Kim Il-yun thought, tired. Praise the hero. Time remained 9 minutes 54 seconds. Inscription on the holographic. This Kim Il-yun thought, but I have a buff. 9 minutes. So, Kim Il-yun took a sword in his hand. Just enough to deal with you, said Kim Il-yun, and confidently took the sword in his hand. A yellow mana flies around Kim Il-yun. Attack, Kim Il-yun said strongly to orcs. Grr, only the orcs were growing. Don't you want? Kim Il-yun asked. Then I'm myself, Kim Il-yun shouted decisively and stood in a fighting posture, preparing for the attack. Then I'm myself, Kim Il-yun shouted, wrapped in the yellow man. Kim Il-yun made a mighty magical blow. Kim Il-yun started a battle with orcs. With one blow, Kim Il-yun cuts orcs into two. Only heard from orcs. Kim Il-yun stands in a battle pose. Magical energy flies around him everywhere. They were scared. Kim Il-yun asked, smiling trickly into orcs. Not time, Kim Il-yun shouted and rushed to the orcs sharply. Kim began to destroy orcs strong. Magical blows. Ka-ae. Screaming orcs scream. After successful attacks, Kim Il-yun proudly looks into the frightened orcs. Grow, human attacks are too fast, said the great frightened orc. Have you been indulged? Said Kim Il-yun. Attack the same, the terrifying Kim Il-yun shouted. A series of steep blows with a blue mana. Kim Il-yun destroys orcs. The praise of the hero. The remaining time is 2 minutes 40 seconds written on the holographic screen. However, I have only 2 minutes and 40 seconds, Kim Il-yun thought. Kim Il-yun looks at the orcs. And what I will do next, Kim Il-yun thought. In general, without a concept, Kim Il-yun thought, smiling treacherously. Try ho-ho attack, man, the evil orc shouted. Okay, I go, Kim Il-yun shouted formally and, using the technique of walking 7 stars, began the attack. Rapid attacks cut orcs into pieces. Those who cannot even direct their internal energy to enhancement of vision are unable to resist my blade. In addition, Baff helps me. Kim Il-yun continues to apply magical attacks, destroying orcs. To great internal energy. Of course, this is only a temporary effect, that as soon as I get a millennial mountainous, so much energy will become constant. Kim Il-yun thought. Many rays of energy breaks out of it and destroys is so strong that Kim Il-yun is able to vertically cut orcs. The praise of the hero. The remaining time is 1 minute 12 seconds written on the holographic. Il-yun smiles cunningly and thinks, of course, if I survive. Grow, man, dangerous, said one of the orcs, which still have a lot. They said to attack now. You want to blame? Kim Il-yun shouted maliciously and struck a mighty blow. It is necessary to deal with at least one more, he thought. The large, green orcs look at the attacks of Kim Il-yun. I will try to break their morale, Kim thought, and said, hey. Gades, they issued themselves for the great commanders, and when you see what you lose, they decided to escape. Grr. Cocktail orc said, picking up his eyebrows. Under the sounds of Kurik, the orcs are in the protective system. A crowd of orcs tries to kill one hero of the F rang. Should I rejoice? The holographic screen appears the action of the praise of the hero. Seeing this message, Kim Il-yun looks confused. Damn. The situation of pain is familiar. Kim energy dispelled. That the orcs know. Kim began to think about what to do next. Hey, tremble with fear, the kind of real cliffs, and in fact, the fears are frightened. Il-yun orc began to provoke Kim. Grr. Damn Earthman, you think the whole world is spinning around you. But now the god of demons was angry. Said, orc evil. The orc showed his finger on Kim. Man continued, and soon his servants, the kings of demons, they will rise into our world. And therefore very soon you, and all humanity, will plunge into the abyss of pain and suffering. Hey, I do not have the idea who you talk about at all, said Kim Il-yun indifferent, scratching his head. Grr, how can you not know about the gods of demons, said the evil orc. And what is it? I'm just a few days here, Kim Il-yun continued to say, indifferently. The mind is incomprehensible. Where did the beginner come from? Shouted an evil orc. And I know that my progress is amazed. Chameleon thought of demons ordered to upset the roots of the heroes. Now it is clear to me what he meant, continued the dialogue of the orc. Hey, what did he start to uproot there? Chameleon asked ironically. You can't leave alive such as you, similar to you, is a threat to the great descent of God the demons, said the big Simason Kima. Holidays we will put our heads on the battlefield. But let's not let him go alive, all agree. The orc addressed the horde. Go-O Kutra began to shout and tap the hordes. Capture the fortress.